and we're on the road, and that's what's needed to consolidate democracy.
And in terms of your consolidated democracy, what do you think the DA has got right in achieving what you've just said?
Well, we've got three things right. We've got a very strong foundational political philosophy, number one, and we default to that political philosophy in whatever we do. Number two, we've built a massive and very, very efficient organizational machine. And thirdly, we have the capacity to attract young talent.
Okay, those were the three things. What would you say then in terms of highs and lows over 25 years? What would be, perhaps you've touched on it already, but it's a good time to reflect, the biggest success for you in 25 years? Maybe you'll repeat what you've just said, but certainly what are the shortcomings? Where have you fallen short?
Yes, well, it's not nice to have the party split, which we did in 2001, the DA split. And then it's not nice to have internal combustion of leaders now and again. We went through a kind of phase in South Africa where everybody was embracing wokeness, and we had that debate in the DA as well. And we decided to default to our core values of non-racialism, and that caused a bit of friction. But apart from that, it's really been onwards and upwards.
Did I hear you correctly when you say embracing wokeness? Have I heard that incorrectly?
No, you heard that correctly.
So what would that mean about, that embracing wokeness effectively would threaten the existence of the DA? What would, just explain that?
Well, wokeness is a political philosophy that is antithetical to the DA's political philosophy. Wokeness says that the most important thing about you is your biology, not yourself as a person, but your chromosomes and your melanin count. And on that basis, you're either a victim or a villain in the context. And if you're a victim, you must blame the villains, and you must work to overthrow every institution that has been built up in a democracy, because those have been built up to serve the white patriarchy, which of course is complete nonsense. And that's why we rejected it. You can't say that an independent judiciary has been built up to serve the white patriarchy. You cannot argue that the separation of powers in a parliament and in an executive and in a national council of provinces and in a judiciary does anything else but, in fact, hold power to account. And it was all of those foreign philosophies that were being embraced in South Africa that we had to stand up against very strongly.
Some may say, obviously come 1994, the DA didn't exist at that time, I know that, but in its various iterations, clearly the entire country had to transform from where we were in the apartheid South Africa to where we are now. And then, whereas many may compliment the DA on its efficiency, and I think many people do so, even amongst your critics, right, compared to, say, the ANC in particular, your biggest critic is that the DA has not transformed sufficiently enough and still falls far short of coming across as speaking for the whole of South Africa. How do you respond to that?
Well, I respond by saying that's a massive double standard. The ANC only has black public representatives today, except maybe one or two, but only has black public representatives today. Other parties are completely uniracial. The only genuinely non-racial and inclusive party with many black leaders is the DA. So why do you go after us and not go after those parties?
But what about the many high-profile DA leaders that are not part of your party any longer? I'm looking at Mmusi Maimane, Phumzile van Dam, Lindiwe Mazibuko, Makashule Ghana, Herman Mashaba. They've all come through, so you've been able to attract them to your party, and then, for whatever reason, could be many of what we spoke about above before, but they're gone. What does that say about the DA's ability to hold on to these leaders that may well be the type of leaders that you would need to be able to govern the country?
So first of all, you're completely ignoring the white leaders that left. That's why you're doing that. That's a double standard. And secondly, far more black leaders have come to our party and grown up through the party than have ever left our party. So you're not mentioning Solly Malatsi, you're not mentioning Solly Msimanga, you're not mentioning Siliwe Wahube, you're not mentioning Kabelo Nkama, you're not mentioning any of those. Because nobody knows the name of any black leader in the DA, because they're considered to be sellouts by the media, and they only become famous when they leave the DA.
Well, I mean,
And that's the
I hear
problem
your
with the
point.
media.
I hear your point, and it's an interesting point. I mean, clearly you're right. I certainly deliberately, intentionally brought up 4 or 5 names. All were black, not so much because of the media, but we certainly, if we reflect, the national pulse on the show, the barometer of callers we get in, it is the one thing, perception, correct or not, that the DA has not transformed sufficiently enough, and that's what people look out for. So that is why they would look out for the black
perception, but it's not the reality. It's the perception, but it's not the reality, because the media will never reflect the reality. Have you seen some of our brilliant new MPs in Parliament, like Kabela Kabiso? Have you looked at an excellent guy, Mlondi Ndluli? Really excellent guy. He's an economist. He's doing his PhD in economics now. You would never, ever report about them or interview them. Kabelo came first, was the CEO of a major communications company. Why don't you ever report on those?
Well, I mean, you have an excellent spokesperson I've chatted to many times, but you've also had Liam
Saraba
Jacobs.
Kakao, yes, there she goes.
Yeah, I mean, I have, but I'm also saying you've also had Liam Jacobs, who in a very short period of time, I think certainly made an impact, and then suddenly left the DA, and this is what he said about the DA.
But I get told this, and I want you. It's by a minister. Now you must remember, myself, I have an honours degree. At that point, I was in politics for 7 years. And I get told by somebody that has just a matric, who is a trust fund baby also. I get told, we are so happy here to be where we are. Because in the DA, we don't do representativity. We do merit.
Okay, how do you respond to Liam Jacobs? And you can't ignore what he just said about your party.
Yes. How did Liam Jacobs get to Parliament and be the youngest parliamentarian, I think, ever at 22? How did he come to be in Parliament at 22 years old and to get a very major portfolio? He got to Parliament because he came through our selection system. We didn't judge him by the color of his skin. We judged him by the way he performed in the interview.
Right, but then the point is, Helen...
He's a beneficiary of the system. Does he think at 22 he's going to be a cabinet minister?
Well, listen, I think you're right about the fact that he appeared to be fast-tracked and therefore we know about him. But then what I'm asking you about your ability to govern, you were not able to hold on to him for whatever reason. Isn't that the weakness of the DA?
Well, you must ask Gayton McKenzie. We all know about how he gets people to cross to him. He waits till our candidates, for example, are in, their names over the IEC, the nominations are closed, and then somehow he goes to them, speaks to them, and they evaporate. And I know exactly what he does, although it's very difficult to prove, but I know exactly where the cash goes and how it goes. We know how it works.
Okay. Yes, you're part of the GNU, so you are effectively, your friends, your colleagues, right? Let's move on. We got about a minute or so to go. What about... what would it take for the DA to move from being GNU partners to actually govern the country with a 50+1 majority?
Ashraf, we are in a proportional representation system. And all over the world, in proportional representation systems, parties don't get 50%+1. Our aim is to be the biggest single party in the coalition. That's what our aim is. We're a proportional representation democracy. We need thresholds, and we will always have coalitions from now on. The DA is working to be the biggest party in the coalition because we think that we govern better, and I think that the record proves it.
Okay, when I ask you, in fact, how big does the biggest mean for you, we'll ask you that right after this.
What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made in the lives of others. These words by Nelson Mandela inspire us at Habitat for Humanity. With the help of various partners, including volunteers, corporates, communities, and government, we have built homes with more than 650 vulnerable families in South Africa, giving them hope and new beginnings. You too can make a difference. Partner today with habitat.org.za and join us in building a South Africa where everybody has an adequate place place to live in. Together, we can change lives. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Winter in Nelson Mandela Bay is for getting out and not staying in. Get outdoors on a green flag hiking trail or go for a game drive at one of 15 private reserves right at our doorstep. Hit the beach or get on board with a whale watching cruise. Explore the historical heart of our city or come vibe with the locals on a township tour. There's so much to discover. Find Nelson Mandela Bay, South Africa on Facebook or visit nmbt.co.za. Nelson Mandela Bay, your winter and our summer destination.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, let's conclude our conversation with Helen Zille on the time that the DA reflects 25 years being a party in South Africa. So that point, in terms of, yes, there will never be a 50+1, but you want to be the majority of a coalition. How big can you go? Seriously.
Angela Merkel, who was the Chancellor of Germany, you probably called her Angela Merkel, but she governed Germany. She was the Chancellor for many years with 27% of the vote. That's how it works in a multi-party proportional representation system.
Okay, so realistically, that's where you think that would be
Well,
enough.
we can go over 30 years. Of course we can. But, we just go, at least we grow, and at least we move in the right direction. We're not moving backwards.
Okay, here's the last thing, second last thing. Do you agree that for the many parties, including, for example, Gayton McKenzie's party, but not just exclusively so, it could be that, Rise Mzansi, many of the others, but specifically also the DA, the GNU has given you a window of opportunity, a shop window to display your wares in the hope that it'll convince the electorate to vote for you in the local election and then significantly in the national election in a few years' time. You agree that is the opportunity and it gives you that chance and you utilizing that opportunity?
Well, obviously, if we get ministries, we work hard in them and we do our best. And people see the changes and they think, yes, the DA can govern better. Of course.
Okay, and the last window that may come up for you again is Helen Zille, Joburg mayor.
Well, I've first got to go through many hoops before that happens. I've first got to be selected by my own party, and I'll be up against very tough competition. And that's how we work in the DA. We don't just coronate people. People compete with each other, and I've got to go through that. I've got to be selected in that process, a difficult process, a very complex process. I'm studying like I would for any exam now to go through the selection panel there. And then it's up to the voters if they want to save their city or not.
Okay, but the voters come next, and I hear what you're saying, but do you agree? You made the comment the other day that you may consider that position. Do you agree tactically, from a DA perspective, it could be profound if you actually get the nod and actually get elected as the Joburg mayor for the future of the DA? So a case of yes.
Well, the next thing we have to do is try and rescue the metros, because Joburg's crumbling. I'm here at the moment, and it's very sad. Tshwane's in big trouble. Ekurhuleni's crumbling. We have to move to the metros, to rescue the metros, and especially Johannesburg, because Johannesburg is the economic capital of South Africa. Now, people are flooding down to the Western Cape. They're called semigrants, and they come down in very large numbers. And Cape Town is slowly having its middle class whittled away, which is disastrous for a major city, because you need that rate space if you're going to get the money to do anything for the poor. So there's a lot of work to do to salvage Johannesburg, and I would like to help doing that. That's why I've put my hat in the ring. But it depends on what the DA decides, who in the tough competition that we're going to go through now is the best candidate.
Okay, but I get that you're saying your hat is in the ring. It's now up to the
Yes.
electorate to decide. Got that.
Yes.
Helen Zille, chairperson of the DA's Federal Council, on a day that the DA celebrates 25 years of being a political party in South Africa. Much appreciate your time, and I'll put that to the audience. What's your one word to reflect on the DA's role 25 years in democratic South Africa?
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
All right, let's talk about developments and big developments with regard to Iran, Israel, and the USA. Just yesterday, there was big talk in my conversation with Dambisa Fakule about where it goes. He felt that Iran, effectively, their threat in terms of nuclear threat has been demolished after the US attacked them. We now find there's been a ceasefire. Let's find out what that all means with Ronald Hanwood, who's a political analyst from the Department of Political Science at the University of Pretoria. Ronald, appreciate your time here, and thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon. Thank you. It's a pleasure to join you.
Thank you. So let's talk about this, your understanding of this. Well, two things. An attack, firstly, by the US yesterday. Then late last night, there was an attack by Iran on naval bases in Qatar, American naval bases. And then suddenly, we have a ceasefire. And beyond that, we have a very angry US president a few hours ago.
Yes, it just shows you the pace at which things are moving. Firstly, yes, the attack from the US on the nuclear facilities, probably contributing to a turning point in what is happening. The attack or the Iranian response on the Air Force base in Qatar, it's the biggest US base in the Middle East, one of the biggest outside of the US. So that's significant, but one must understand the context. Firstly, it's an off-ramp for Iran to claim some kind of and save face in the context of what has happened for the domestic audience mostly. And I say this because what we know is that the Iranians informed America that they are going to launch the missiles to the base before the time, so they had ample time to make sure that there would be no casualties. It did not hit anything significantly. The US, by the way, moved the aircraft that were not in hardened shelters away from there probably about 10 days ago because they were planning and they knew this was a risk. We had a similar thing in the past when Iran responded to US military action where they essentially informed that this is going to happen in time to limit casualties, limit damage, and as I say, mostly to, in a way, address the demands, the expectations of the domestic interests.
Okay. Do you get a sense that the ceasefire will hold now?
Following on that, the ceasefire announcement, no one expected that, apparently not even key people in Mr. Trump's environment. So he spoke to the leadership. He informed them. Qatar probably spoke to the Iranian leadership. And so there's a lot of diplomatic activity that continued. Will it hold? No one knows. Mr. Trump is angry. Iran apparently fired a missile before the ceasefire kicked in. It arrived in Israel after that. Trump says it's probably a mistake. Israel retaliated. He was angry. He said, stop your pilots, bring them back, don't drop the bombs. What he intimated is that Israel just went out and dropped a lot of bombs, probably hitting final targets before, while they still had a chance. If that is the case, that is reckless. It's endangering the ceasefire. And I don't think it's in any one of these governments' interest to continue the war. They should stop the war. It's time to negotiate. They've achieved probably what they can in terms of military action, unless they want to destroy everything.
Okay. Do you get a sense, therefore, that the Iranian nuclear threat, however, some may say what nuclear threat, they never had it, but whatever has been perceived, do you think that's been destroyed and permanently so, as Trump has suggested?
No one knows really. There's lots of different versions. The program has garnered a lot of attention. It suffered serious setbacks. I don't think there's any question about that. Again, the next phase of nuclear control is diplomacy. It's not war. You can't stop this program only with war unless you obliterate completely the country.
Okay.
No one can do that.
All right. Trump, of course, was angry with both, but particularly angry with the Israelis for the reasons you've just mentioned, that they continued firing on the Iranians even after that ceasefire agreement had come into effect. And he said, right, he said a lot of things. He said, and he specifically called out the Israelis, right? But then he said, we basically, and this is to the media, right? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long, so hard, that they don't know what and then F-U-C-K, that they were doing. What do you make of that outburst?
I think it's a sense of exasperation that, look, whether we like Mr. Trump or not, he's gone fully into this. He's promised he would bring peace. I think he's taken huge risks domestically to do what he did and then to get to this outcome. and he would not want to see any one of the other sides destroy this. He probably truly believes that there's a chance to resolve issues without war, and that is his preferred methods. That we know. He is not one that wants to go and fight wars continuously.
Okay. Here's the last thing, just in a few seconds, we're on to news now. Why do you think he's not had the same gusto to try and resolve a lasting peace between Israel and the Palestinians, but a lasting just peace?
Probably historical reasons, probably the role of Iran in that context, and knowing that it's not going to change. Maybe that will change now. I cannot see a tension not now reverting back to Gaza, and a lot of pressure building on the Israeli government. It cannot continue the way it's been going.
Let's leave it at that. Ronald Hanwood, appreciate your time. Political analyst from the Department of Political Sciences at the University of Pretoria. Right, lots to consider. It is the national pulse after all. It's the international pulse too on a day like this. Let's get the news. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has officially dissolved all 11 regions of the party. The decision was made by the provincial task team, which was introduced earlier this year. The murder case of 39-year-old Mduduzi Mnisi has been postponed to tomorrow for further evidence. Mnisi has appeared at the Roodepoort Magistrate Court west of Johannesburg for a bail hearing. And Sudan's former Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok says the conflict in his country has led to an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Pretoria is a stationary vehicle near Atterbury Road. The M1 northbound is slow moving towards Woodney Drive, and the N12 westbound in Alberton has a crash reported at the R59 Reading interchange. In KZN, the N2 southbound queuing towards the M41 Gateway exit. The N2 northbound has a crash reported after the M41 Higginson Highway exit, and Chris Hani Road northbound slow moving at Ronaldo Road. In Cape Town, Voortrekker Road eastbound is slow moving through Kensington due to roadworks, and the N1 outbound has a stationary vehicle reported on Plattekloof Hill. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Duming Kapele.
Right, to me, I saw your tweet about the retro jersey for the 1995 World Cup winning Springboks, and in that theme, you're talking about the current Springboks too, right?
Absolutely. Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus has named 4 uncapped players in his squad to face the Barbarians in the Qatar Airways Cup at Cape Town Stadium on Saturday. Asenati Ntlabakanye and Vincent Jituka will start, while Marnus van der Merwe and Neatly Fouché on the bench. The squad blends experience and youth, with Sia Kolisi captaining the side, and Ntlabakanye says that being part of the national team from camp has been eye-opening.
To be around the world's best, rubbing shoulders, I think for me has been eye-opening and very special, very special. I think being able to do scrum session with, one of the best loose heads, whether that's going up against Ox or Gerard or Jan Hendrik, you've been really tested, and that can only bring the best out of you. So for me, it's being able to work with Coach Dan has also been something that's eye-opening. So I'm learning every day, something new that I haven't, kind of been exposed to. And for me, it's been an eye-opener.
As Ashraf has mentioned, today we're celebrating 30 years of the Springboks winning the World Cup back in 1995. And to celebrate, SA Rugby has unveiled a new and retro jersey to honour the heritage of the 1995 Rugby World Cup winners. Meanwhile, 18 players with test experience from across the world touched down in Cape Town at the start of the week, reporting for duty for the Barbarians. This is ahead of Saturday's clash. The 23-man squad, which includes former junior Springbok lock Ruben van Heerden of the DHL Stormers and coached by Robbie Deans, are preparing to take on the Springboks for the first time on South African soil. In football, Orlando Pirates have officially unveiled Sipho Mbule as their first signing of the 2025-26 season. The 27-year-old midfielder joins the Soweto Giants as a free agent after Mamelodi Sundowns opted not to extend his contract. Mbule spent the previous season on loan at Sekhukhune United, where he impressed with consistent performances. Meanwhile, Manchester City City manager Pep Guardiola has defended the credibility of the FIFA Club World Cup and the expansion of the competition to 32 clubs. The Spanish mentor argued that coming up against teams from different continents is what has always made the competition unique.
I had the feeling that it's a privilege to be here. For the people say, why it's so annoying, why you should be here. Once we're here is a privilege, because in 4 years' time is not going to happen again. And to be in 4 years' time to happen again, you have to win big prizes. I don't know what's going to happen. And once we're here, I love when I see Botafogo, Fluminense, all the teams, Brazilian teams, Argentinian teams, how celebrate the goals, how they are together. I invite them. I love them. I like them. It's cultural for the fans are more here than European teams. But the way they live every single action is because, and this is all about, you have to live that competition.
Well, his statements were backed by former City player and now coach of Bayern Munich in Vincent Kompany, who used their fixture against the Argentinian side Boca Juniors as an example.
I had a long career, so I've experienced a lot. And I'm really happy being a coach, so I love this. But in the one moments where sometimes I wish I was still a footballer is on days like today. This is what I love about football as well. So we played against a big club with a fan base that I think most fans would pay to watch.
I guess truth of the matter is, Ashraf, with some of the players that are playing in the FIFA Club World Cup, some of these players from their countries won't play in the World Cup in a while. This is their chance to play against some of these players in these clubs. So it's kind of like giving them a chance to play against some of the top in the world.
But that defeats the whole purpose. I'm just saying the World Cup is the World Cup. You earn the right to that.
Yes.
You don't say,
but they also earn the right to play in the FIFA Club World Cup.
Yeah, excepting it's expanded. So it's not like just one or two teams where there's a real, there's been some qualification. You have to be like in the top 3 or 4. Yeah. And then when you get Lionel Messi's team, you get a wild card. I mean, can you see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right. Then in tennis, the All England Club is set to recognise Sir Andy Murray's contribution to tennis with a statue of him at Wimbledon. Murray ended Britain's 77-year wait for a men's singles champion at Wimbledon with a memorable victory over Novak Djokovic back in 2013. The Scot retired from professional tennis in August 2024 following an appearance at the Olympic Games in Paris. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
So what do you think of that jersey, by the way, the retro? I mean, you're not wearing it today.
No.
I expect you to be wearing it on Friday. If not, then there's something wrong with the communications team that dishes it out, because they need to give it to you. And I don't
not
see,
with me, right?
I don't see why. No, not with you. And I don't see why I would not be wearing it either. Yes.
It actually looks very snazzy. It looks quite nice. I think I like the detail to it, especially to the middle part of the jersey. It's got these triangular things that's going on over there. I like it. I love it. I think
and you have tweeted it
amazing.
out, right? You've tweeted it out. Okay.
I have.
So that we can all I'm going to share that too, so the audience can check it out. Yeah. All right, there we are. 30 years ago, the Springboks were World Cup winners. Time to celebrate.
Can one word unlock eternal glory? Okay, maybe just a shiny trophy and bragging rights. It's Password US, hosted by the king of chaos himself, Jimmy Fallon. Celebrities try to guess words. Hilarity ensues. Logic? Optional. Laughter guaranteed. Password US, where saying the right word might win the game, but saying the wrong one is way more fun. Password US, Saturdays 7:30 on S3. Say it like you mean it, or don't. We're not judging.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Okay, so let me throw this out to you. Clearly you have an opinion, right? You have views. Let's hear it by calling in 086 000 2032. That's to call in live, and then WhatsApp, you can do it right away, 0614 104 107. 30 seconds, please, for voice notes, and then text is fine. And you can tweet right away. And particularly 2 comments. The DA, 25 years of the DA. What do you make of that? I think Helen Ziller talked about sustained consolidated democracy. I said one word to describe the 25 years of the DA. She said consolidated democracy. What do you make of that? What's your one word to reflect on the performance of the DA in 25 years? And then, of course, she made the point again that, yes, she'd be willing to stand for the DA, for Joburg Mayor, if they then vote in, right? The other one, of course, is the conversation about the ceasefire, Israel versus Iran. But it's interesting. We have a ceasefire that comes up hours after the last attack really happened from the Americans themselves. Like, we are living in a strange, strange world indeed. So I certainly welcome your thoughts in terms of where it goes. Now, talking about strange, let's get into another issue. Team South Africa set to unveil its critical minerals and metal strategy at the London Indaba. That's underway today in the United Kingdom over the next couple of days, I understand. As Africa's largest economy and acting under the G20 presidency, South Africa now using this platform to signal stability, progress and reform to the world. So let's find out what the plans have been today. We've got with us the Deputy Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, Phumzile Mgcina. Appreciate your time, Deputy Minister. Thanks for connecting to us on the National Pulse.
No, thank you very much. Good afternoon to yourself and the listeners at home.
Thank you.
Yes, we are here in UK, whereby we are discussing a number of things that has to do with our minerals. So we're invited here in London, Indaba, and it's very interesting because we are here with a number of people who are owning mines, especially in South Africa. But the most important thing for us here is to speak about our beneficiation, that we must also benefit from our mineral resources. So we are here, we're having a number of meetings, but most importantly, as I was saying, we must articulate our position around the beneficiation.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to that in a moment. Just help us understand, when we say the London Indaba, what is the London Indaba?
London Indaba is whereby the captains of industry are here to discuss a number of things, mostly around minerals, around investment, because we do have investors here who are not particularly speaking about South Africa, but they're speaking about Africa as a continent and other countries. But we are here as South Africa to promote our critical minerals, because end of the day, we want to get more investors to come and invest in South Africa, invest on our critical minerals. So London Mining Indaba, it's all about networking, speaking about minerals, but most importantly, to attract investors.
And do you succeed with that? I mean, yes, you have the tourism, you have the Mining Indaba in South Africa, you have, things like Davos and South Africa's present there and many other events, right? Do you succeed as a country to be able to effectively sell your minerals?
Yes, definitely. Mining Indaba in South Africa is one of the biggest events whereby the entire world comes to attend. So yes, we are doing very well, but we can't just sit back as government saying that we are doing well. We always want more investors to come. As I was saying, we've recently adopted critical minerals. So I believe attending such events is assisting us to promote them and also to tell the world that what do we have in our minerals, so they must come and invest. But in that motion of them coming to invest, we also want to emphasize on the issue of reskilling, to invest in Africa, to invest in South Africa, not by taking our minerals, but they must also invest in terms of education, infrastructure, a number of things that we see as a country that are challenging us. So we need private sector to come and assist us as government in terms of job opportunities. There are a number of things that I can mention, but that's why we are here, is to make sure that we get those investors to come and invest in different areas in South Africa.
Okay, let's talk then about beneficiation and what that means and how South Africa can benefit from beneficiation.
Beneficiation is a policy whereby we are saying whoever who comes to invest in South Africa or to mine in South Africa, the community must also benefit from those mineral resources. So by saying that, I know it's not an easy thing because they've been asking that, but now they are coming with their resources and everything. But it's a policy that we are saying as government, it will assist the community that we are living in, because when they come to mine in South Africa, they are mining in our communities. End of the day, we are not benefiting everything. They just extract the minerals and then they leave the country. So now we are saying we want to benefit through beneficiation in a number of ways. We are saying we want to benefit through education, skills, technology, infrastructure, because we need to also build smelters so that we can start to our process to process our minerals within the country. For the longest time that we allow people to come and mine, then they just take everything, they leave a country poor as we are. So now we are saying we want to benefit with our mineral resources, but also they must also invest, but also benefiting through the mineral resources, but also as a country must benefit from our mineral resources.
And how do you think we got ourselves into a position as a country, and some may say as many other countries in the world, on the continent, where in fact beneficiation has been denied to us? That means you have the minerals, you sell off the minerals, but there's no direct benefit to the local communities from where they come from. And in many cases, you sell off the minerals and then you import the same thing as finished articles back in the country at a higher price. I mean, how did we get ourselves into that position?
I think one of the things we must say as government, we need to review our laws, because the past years, our laws were not hard on beneficiation as much as they were there, but they were not hard on them. But now, as we're in government, our duty is to review the policies and make sure that they are working in favor of our people. So this beneficiation issue that you're saying, how come did we arrive here? I can't dwell on that one, but the most important thing is to say we are reviewing our policies and we want to benefit from our mineral resources.
So in terms of being able to, sell off South Africa's minerals to the global audience, right? Of course, you have this G20 summit coming up at the end of the year in South Africa. We know leads that, right? What for you then would be the biggest sell? That means what are the minerals that we possess that the world needs? Keeping in mind we do live in a very changing world. So what was necessary or top of the list 5 years ago may not be top of the list this time round.
Yeah, we've got a number of critical minerals that we are saying people, they must come and invest on them. We're talking about lithium. Coal is also form part of mineral resources, our critical mineral resources, and also the chrome, manganese. I think we've got reserves on chrome we are currently exporting to China. So now we are saying that 90% of chrome at this moment we're exporting them to China. But when we're speaking about beneficiation, we are saying China must come and invest and build smelters in South Africa so that we can export finished goods or value-added goods, because some of the things we can't process them into finished goods. But we are saying part of those critical minerals that I have mentioned, manganese, lithium, chrome, gold, coal, as well as coal, is also critical for us because it's assisting in terms of energy. But the most critical mineral that I want us to focus on as the country is the issue of chrome, because we've got a number of chrome, we've got reserves. So we are saying those who want chrome, they must come and invest in South Africa by building smelters so that we can export finished or value-added goods. But in the process, we are creating job opportunities, because on those plants we'll be training our young people, reskilling them, so we'll be benefiting even through technology. So there are a number of ways that we can benefit through our mineral resources.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Appreciate your time, Deputy Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, Phumzile Mgcina, at a very significant event, the London Indaba, London Mining Indaba, that's just gotten underway, and South Africa effectively making a serious push to try and sell, market its minerals like they've never done before, like we've never done before. And we should succeed, isn't it? You may want to comment on that too, and the issue of beneficiation in terms of how do we turn that around. I think it's so important. What's important is I'm going to talk to you next, because you are on the pulse.
The reigning champions Banyana Banyana and 11 African national teams are ready to tackle each other for WAFCON 2024 to determine who are the real queens of the continent. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Experience the Women Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC 1 and SABC 2. Also available on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Night Talk with Oliver Dixon.
You and I have a country to build, difficult conversations to have, solutions to find, and stories to tell. Join me, Oliver Dixon, on Night Talk every Monday to Thursday from 10 p.m. to midnight.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Right, I'll tell you what, we're going to get to your calls in a moment, but listen to this, right? So I'm not one to speculate and gamble, but if you want to take a chance, great things can happen when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 59 million rands in total estimated jackpots Tuesday, so today, right? Don't delay, play Powerball for an estimated 36 million rands and Powerball Plus for an estimated 23 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial, and here's the number, *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Tuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Right, let's hear from you. First we go to Lenius. Go for it, Lenius. Hello.
Ashraf, good afternoon, man.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Ashraf, it was nice to hear what the Deputy Minister just said now, after a very long time. What I want to speak...
Yeah, Lenius, sorry.
The pain that we get from Helen Zille failing to respond to the question that they cannot keep black leaders in the DA. They are just an open pipe. Black leaders come in and then they get out the other side, and then they never grow to be senior leaders. I think that weakness, she just failed to acknowledge it. And she has been tumbling to try and divert from the real issues that they are not capable of grooming black leaders to the highest positions of the DA. That's what I just wanted to raise up.
Well, I think it's a valid point. As you know, I asked it as well. And I think, never mind what Helen Zille says, it is the obvious weakness of the Democratic Alliance. There's no question about it. That everybody would look to say, who are your leadership? And they aren't, for whatever reason, if they're unable to hold on to them, then that'll be seen as the weakness no matter what. So, Lenius, thanks for that, punctuating that once again. Thomas in Newcastle, go for it. Hello.
Ashraf, how are you?
I'm good indeed, right? What's your point?
Ashraf, I'm so upset with the Deputy Minister you just had there. The NC should stop doing the CADA thing. She can't even pronounce the word lithium. She has to page through to see what products we have, what minerals we have. All she knows is we need to get, which is our problem in South Africa. We want to get everything for nothing. We can't have people come in, build for us so that we can charge them. Everybody wants to do business. They need to do a better pitch, Ashraf. Please.
Well,
they must stop. Yes, sir.
Well, but that's a reflection on the leadership we have. So, not for me to say so, but I'm saying to you, you as the audience, you're also a voter. So you listen to different people from different political parties, and you now have an opportunity to see how they perform, not just, behind closed doors, but when they actually front up in public spaces. And it's true, they're all a shop window to all of us, you and me.
But Ashraf, the problem is this. This is why the position she's sitting in, she has no understanding. She has no concept. What she's saying, she's regurgitating what was said to her. So how is she going to be able to make sure that we get what she says we need to get? She doesn't know anything about that. Just from interacting with you. She's stumbling and fumbling all over. And it's not itself a black hate. I'm a black person. I'm embarrassed. And I'm upset because our economy is where it's at because of this credit deployment. If she's capable, fine, but right now she has no clue what she's talking about.
I'll leave it to others to comment as well, but you basically saying she has no clue. So I wonder whether others concur with you on that one there. Thomas in Newcastle, right? Let's get to the Western Cape now. Les, you're in that region. Let's talk about the DA.
Okay, what I want to talk about too. What Helen Zille said when she said the DA consolidating the democracy in South Africa. Yes, it's true, because if you can check here, the DA, the DA is there in GNU, right, at current time. The DA is trying to make sure that the democracy here in South Africa cannot divert in other angle. If MK and EFF can be in the government just because those are the...
Les, I think we may have just lost Les. I'm not too sure what that happened to that line. My apology for that. Maybe just a bad line from your side. Okay, so let's get on to other comments via your WhatsApp voice notes. And naturally, there's more comment on the DA.
Good day, Ashraf. One, even though is not supporting DA in everything, almost everything, but I just appreciate the way Helen Zille is answering you. You can hear she's answering the question very sober. But in my opinion, she must stop contesting for Joburg Mayor. I think she's very old. She must just rest and just be there in the DA. But for mayorship in Joburg, I think she's very old. She must just rest. But all in all, I just appreciate the way she's answering the questions. Thank you.
Okay, got that. Interesting you say, she shouldn't run for Joburg Mayor because she's very old. My question to you, of course, I think there is a move to say we need younger people to lead, but how old is old? So you never said anything else about her ability to govern. The biggest factor was her age. How old is too old to lead a city? Just if you think in any other things that the person is competent. I'm just very interested to know what you think about that.
Ashraf, let me answer you quickly what Helen Zille could not answer you. The DA will never govern this country alone. It will never happen. They will always need these small other parties to run government like they do in other municipalities. What needs to happen is for voters who are disgruntled, who are not happy, to start voting and we go back to a one-party government. Because that is what is happening now. People are angry, they're not voting. If they start voting, this coalition nonsense will stop. Thank you, John and Bloemfontein.
But then that's the case. Which is the one-party government you're referring to? Is it the African National Congress, which obviously lost the last one, but still picked up 40% of the vote, or is it somebody else? There's comments on Trump, understandably so.
Ashraf, good afternoon, man. Floris here from the beautiful Western Cape. Ashraf, my thoughts of Donald Trump is that surely he must have been bullied at school. This guy is such an angry man. He is the Chuck Norris of presidents. He does not give a rat's behind what he is saying to who and when. No. This guy is out of control. I wonder if there's not a remedy. Can he not go to a doctor and see what's wrong with him? Have a good show. Bye-bye.
In fact, he's suggesting that if you look at his comments today, he's saying the Israelis are out of control. Just think about it. Think about those last comments he said today, and you get your answer.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ceasefire talks started after Iran sent missiles to American air base in Qatar. Ceasefire talk came and concluded. We could see that war now continues because Israel do not want peace. They do not want peace. The only thing they want is war. And the only thing they're interested in war, killing, and destruction. They will not have peace because they're not a nation and they're not a country that is for peace.
Okay, and when you say Israel doesn't want peace, how do you know that the Iranians want peace? I'm just talking about those two countries in particular. How convinced are you that they want peace as well? Just think about that. Right, there's lots more comments. There's also comments about Floyd Shivambu. And goodness, man, he has been saying so many things. I believe he's got another press conference or a media conference of sorts sometime on Thursday as well, right? So, but his position's gathering steam, right or wrong, isn't it? Right, more to come on the show here on the National Pulse. You tell me what you think is moving the National Pulse. A sad issue we're going to touch upon is that construction worker dying today. Sorry, at a popular mall in Springfield Park in KZN. We'll touch on that just now. Let's get the news first. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. Top stories. ANC in KZN dissolves all its regions and forces murder case postponed for further evidence. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has officially dissolved all 11 regions of the party. The decision was made by the Provincial Task Team, which was introduced earlier this year. The party says the move aims to kickstart the rebuilding process of all its structures ahead of the local government elections next year. The party supporting the province dropped from 54% to 17% after last year's general elections, resulting in the party losing control of the province. ANC's provincial convener Jeff Khadebe.
The ANC Provincial Working Committee has also finalized the establishment of the ANC Regional Task Team in all the 11 regions of KwaZulu-Natal. These task teams consist of capable, disciplined, and committed cadres who have demonstrated unwavering loyalty to the movement and a capacity for organizational leadership. They are entrusted with restoring stability, unity, and a renewed sense of purpose within all our structures in the ANC and the broader alliance.
The murder case of 39-year-old Mduduzi Mnisi has been postponed to tomorrow for the presentation of further evidence. Mnisi has appeared at the Roodepoort Magistrate Court west of Johannesburg for a bail hearing. He is accused of the premeditated murder of 14-year-old Likona Fose. Fose's mutilated body was discovered in a piece of felt near her Durban Deep home in Roodepoort last month. Mnisi remains in custody. Puseletso Mukwena reports.
Mnisi, who is still on parole for his previous convictions of robbery and attempted murder of 2009, pleaded not guilty to the allegations. He further mentioned that the only amount that he can afford for bail is 1,000 rand as he is unemployed. Tomorrow, his girlfriend, Pinky Ganzo, is expected to give evidence as a witness in court. Puseletso Mokoena, SABC News, Roodepoort Magistrate Court.
South Africa's independent tower operator IHS has partnered with non-profit organization Project Isizwe to launch free public Wi-Fi at various Durban townships. The project was launched in KwaMashu. It will provide uncapped and cost-free internet access to students, job seekers, entrepreneurs and residents. CEO of IHS South Africa, Sandile Msimang, says the aim is to empower disadvantaged communities by promoting socio-economic growth through assuring accessible networking.
So across the country, we have close to 6,000 towers. In the KZN region in particular, we have just under 1,000 towers. And today, the initiative is encompassing about 7 hotspots around KwaMashu, Newlands East, Tuzuma and Inanda. And we hope to, of course, be able to expand that. And the focus of the initiative is really around schools and communities, like we are here today in the KwaMashu G Community Hall. We have another site at the Tekwini Primary School that we're launching today, another site in Roseland Primary School at Newlands East.
KwaMashu locals Pelelo Gulu says the Wi-Fi will help him support his 7-year-old sister with her schoolwork.
Some of my relatives are not here, but mostly far away places, whereby the network isn't working as usual. But somehow if I'm on WhatsApp, I can be able to contact with them fastly. And Facebook, I can also be able to chat with them. But also what I can say is most useful about the Wi-Fi, it also helps some kids out there to be able to reach out some educational practices, also to be able to learn.
The former Prime Minister of Sudan, Abdallah Hamdok, has called on South Africa to assist Sudanese to engage in a dialogue with the aim of ending the war in that country. Hamdok says not much is being done to return Sudan to democracy. He believes that South Africa's involvement will be beneficial.
And we would like South Africa to get involved more actively in our case. His Excellency, the President Cyril Ramaphosa. And he assured us that South Africa will definitely be involved in the Sudanese conflict, help us address this. There is a lot of history between our countries. South Africa has an excellent, unique experience that can be extremely useful to us.
Recapping the top story, the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has officially dissolved all 11 regions of the party. The decision was made by the Provincial Task Team, which was introduced earlier this year. I'm Mondelambana for SAFM News Headlines at 4:30.
In sports, Kolisi to lead new look box in 2025 opener. Banyana jet off for WAFCON defence and Sinner named as top seed for Wimbledon. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Bears Nordia Drive westbound in Rand Park Ridge has delays towards Acero Drive. In Midrand, the N1 northbound has a stationary truck near New Road, and the N1 northbound a crash before Samrand Road. In KZN, the M4 northbound queuing towards Virginia Airport, the N2 southbound queuing towards the M41 Gateway exit, and the N2 northbound has a crash reported after the M1 Higginson Highway exit. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend, and Victoria Road outbound slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Gordon Ramsay is back, and your favorite kitchen disasters are still somehow in business. New season, same confused chefs, terrifying walk-ins, and enough grease to fry your Wi-Fi. Watch as Gordon tries to fix the unfixable with nothing but sheer rage, British sarcasm, and an iron stomach. Kitchen Nightmares Season 8, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on S3. Come for the food, stay for the emotional damage.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world, empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, I'm going to, let me ask you this up front. What for you moves the national pulse? Are you convinced by the conversation that Helen Zille had with me as to why there are not sufficient black leaders, and her point that we're judging them harshly because what about the others like the ANC where it's completely predominantly black leaders and not white leaders, for example, in terms of the numbers, are we just calling them out for that? But are you also convinced in the terms of the direction the DA is taking based upon what she said and her effectively a commitment to want to run for the Joburg mayor if she does get elected, of course, within the DA structures as well? Anything else that you feel you want to pick out? Then the Donald Trump story and the fact that those two countries, Iran and USA, according to the American president, well, they just don't give a you-know-what, right? And that's what he said to the global media, Donald Trump being Donald Trump. Let's talk about another issue for now, and it's really a really sad issue. A construction worker died earlier today. And that's after a structural collapse at a shopping mall in Springfield Park, and there were also many others injured. Let's get a story from the paramedics' point of view. The ALS paramedic spokesperson is Gareth Jamieson. Gareth, good to connect with you on the National Pulse, but really on a sad day.
Yeah, good morning. Oh, good afternoon. Apologies. Yeah, it was unfortunate, very unfortunate incident that occurred.
Yeah, tell us what's happened.
So, just after between 11 and 11:30, we received obviously multiple calls requesting medical assistance, and the initial callers were just that a scaffolding has collapsed. Everyone was lying on the floor, and obviously we dispatched our units. Our first unit arrived on scene and found 5 people lying on the ground. The scaffolding, they were putting up a signboard. And it was quite windy, or it is quite windy here in Durban, and the wind, we assume, picked up as they were putting up the sign, and obviously took the entire team of 5, as well as then obviously the structure of the scaffolding down, which is about 6 meters. Obviously, all 5 of them came crashing down, and falling 6 meters, you can you can imagine the injuries that had sustained. So unfortunately, one of them had major injuries, and there was nothing my team could do for them. So he was declared deceased, and obviously there was multiple other casualties, and they had quite serious injuries, as you can imagine, falling from that height.
And what caused? I mean, what caused this scaffolding collapse? I mean, I would think there would be sufficient checks and balances to ensure its safety every day, considering that's what these workers do all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, that'll be an investigation for the SAPS and relevant parties. You know, from the word, obviously we weren't there, but from the word is that they were trying to put up a sign, and they're not sure if like the gust of wind came behind the sign. It was a large sign, you know, and just pushed it, if that makes sense what I'm saying, you know, and everyone lost their balance and the scaffolding just went down with them.
Yeah. What about the mall owners? I mean, what have they said? I know you're from rescue, but is there anything that you can share with us?
While I was there, I did see the mall operations manager come in and chat to the necessary SAP as well as the owners. The owners of the construction company were on site to obviously, after hearing of this incident. So they obviously did have discussions, and SAP had discussions, and, you know, obviously with one person being deceased, the area was cordoned off. And, you know, I'm not sure how long, if it's even being cleared at this stage, whilst waiting for mortuary, but obviously they had to wait for photographers to come in, you know, and just detectives as well, because obviously it's now a crime scene as one person has passed away.
What can you tell us about the others, the those who are injured? You know, what's their condition like? What's the level of treatment?
So one of them sustained critical injuries, multiple head injuries and back injuries. He is in a critical condition, still in hospital. All of them are still in hospital. I mean, all of them have quite serious injuries, fractures, you know, falling from that height. The rest, or three of them, so 3 had sustained moderate injuries, as I just spoke about, and they will be, or they are admitted into hospital. And obviously the critical one is in ICU still, after being treated in the trauma unit.
Okay, let's leave it at that. I much appreciate your time
you,
on this issue, on a disappointing, sad day regarding the death of a construction worker.
Cheers,
and 5 people dying in Springfield Park in Durban. And that's Gareth Jamieson, the ALS paramedics spokesperson. We'll talk to Pop Crew next. They've had a big coming together. And we're going to talk to Richard Mamabolo right after this.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
So, I mean, it goes without saying, to use a very South African word, Donald Trump, who effectively negotiated the ceasefire between Iran and Israel, and nothing to do with Palestine, just those two countries, and then found that, in particular, he said, well, Iran may have done something in terms of a missile, but he said maybe that was set off even before the ceasefire was agreed. But in particular, he was upset with the Israelis who continued landing some missiles on the Iranian side. And then he made the point about, and the South African phrase is my words, like, he was hurtful. He was hurtful enough to speak to the media and suggesting that both countries don't give a you-know-what. 4 letters, F-U-C-K, to the global media. Now, here's my question to you, Ron. Do you know any other leader, political leader of a country who said something like that and has actually used an expletive in speaking to the media because he's so hurtful? To put it that way. You know anybody? I mean, if so, I'd love to know. I mean, you may want to Google it and tell me. I'm really interested to know about that, okay? Okay, let's get to some voice notes because I want to hear what you have to say in the meantime.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Let me first declare that I am a DA member and I'm black. So you're talking to Anonymous in Durban. I think it's unfair to put the onus on not having black leaders in the DA on Helen. It's to say people who want to change the party, want to see the party transforming, they need to join the party, join the structures, contest those positions, because these people who are there were elected by the people in the party. Thank you.
Thanks. I don't know if I quite agree with you. Let me give you a sporting analogy for that one, because I think it'll help. if you are a sports team and you want to win the league, yes, you're going to have some players that you're going to grow from grassroots and join your reserve team to the main team. But you also want to hire the best players as well immediately because you haven't got 10 years to wait, right? And to do that, you have to make your project very, very appealing to those best players from other clubs to able for them to join you. And I'm saying to you that at this point in time, the DA has not succeeded in getting that, which means they have not made their project appealing to some significant black leaders. And we hear that every day on these shows. So that's my point.
Hi, Ashraf. Errol from Durban. One word to describe the DA. Well, I would say super. It's a super party. It's the only party that can get South Africa back on track again. Errol, Durban.
Okay, Errol says super party. There we are. I wonder if you agree with him. There's further comments about, in fact, there's one about Floyd Shivambu.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon. Ashraf, you see, I just want to say that I am not surprised by what I see happening with Floyd Shivambu. Actually, Jacob Zuma is giving Floyd Shivambu a taste of his own medicine. You remember some time ago, Baleka Mbete was still was named the Speaker of Parliament. He disrespected Baleka Mbete, and Baleka Mbete reprimanded him, and then he replied by saying, "You are not my mother." He went to Bushiri to get some anointing so that he can take over from Jacob Zuma, and Jacob Zuma realized that, and then he fired him. Aya Queen.
Okay, but that we know already. I mean, the question is what happens next to him, and we think we know, right? Okay, let's get to the construction site story. Here's Sydney in Akon. Go for it, Sydney.
Oh, Brother Ashraf to Sydney, deliver in Akon, Pushback Ridge. Brother Ashraf, mine is that one of celebration of the 30 years of Constitutional Court last week on Friday. Brother Ashraf, yes, we celebrate that. But the ruling that they made, the Constitutional Court, about the phrase "kill the farmer," that to them it's a chant. I think they must review this one. To say "kill the farmer," to me it's not a chant. It's a sedition to kill another person simply because that person is a farmer. Let's remove the subject, the farmer, and we put the teacher. Kill the teacher. What are they going to say? Is it still a chant? Or it's only a chant when you put the word farmer? Surely our Constitutional Court must reconsider this one because it gives a leverage to those who want to mock farmers in general, whatever their dislike on farmers. After all, can we afford it? As much as the Constitutional Court said it is a chance, we as South Africans, can we really afford to insult farmers? Can we really afford to insult farmers?
All right, got that, Sydney. I think, again, it's a point that's been raised before, but it's worth talking about, which is we know what it meant historically, and I do agree. I mean, the courts have actually ruled that it's not literal. If it was literal, then you'll have thousands of farmers being killed, and that's not the case. So we know it's not literal. But in terms of if it's even its symbolism, right, do you find it's outlived its purpose? I mean, that's the gist of what you're saying, that what purpose does it really serve today for those that sing it? And in this case, specifically, we're talking about the EFF, right? Okay, Mzee, you want to also talk about the DA. Go for it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, how's it, man? Right.
Good one. Let's assume that DA, I don't understand when you, for starters, I voted for ANC and I'll keep on voting for ANC. But I don't like debates that are not a national building. You are pointing that there's no transformation to DA as compared to which party? If you look at the ANC, the top 20, how many colors, how many Indians, how many white people? Therefore, we can talk about DA. Is there any transformation? Is it a representation of our country? No.
Okay.
Therefore, this question of DA not being transformed, they are all like the same.
Well, I hear you, and I agree, and I disagree with you, Mzee. Thank you for that. I'll tell you where the difference lies, right? Okay, for this purpose, 90% of the country, South Africa, are black. Now, there's three categories of black: black African, black colored, black Indian. They make up 90%. Now, if you want to break those three down, then let's say it's about 83, and I may be wrong with the certain numbers. Don't hold me to that, right? Let's say it's 83 odd percent who are black African. By and large, it needs to sort of reflect that. If it doesn't, by and large, then there's something wrong. So where does the DA reflect that?
Get your payments done with the utmost security and convenience when you purchase a TV license now. With our new secure payment systems with a one-time PIN, OTP feature, and the choice of receiving your OTP via SMS or email, you can ensure prompt and secure payments. The additional use of CAPTCHA will protect you against spam and automated data attractions. With TV licenses, you can enjoy watching all your favorite shows or movies that matter to you. Get yours today. Visit www.tvlic.co.za.
The Morning Brief.
I'm with Olwetu Kanyile this morning, part of the SAFM Youth Takeover.
If you met the Minister of Trade and the CEO of one of the biggest retailers, basically, what would you say to them about prices and just the basic prices of like bread, milk, and maize meal?
I would say to the ministers that if these bosses won't do that, then they have to act. It's not a choice. You know, the Constitution dictates certain actions to the government to protect the population, and one of the things that they have to do is protect us from hunger, because the effects of hunger are not just short-term pain and indignity and suffering.
That was Mark Haywood, South African human rights and social justice activist.
SAFM Youth Month Takeover. Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube and X at SAFM Radio.
Well, we'll get another take, by the way, on the DA in terms of just assessing 25 years, in fact, of the Democratic Alliance and how effective it's been. But in the meantime, I've asked you this one word that for you best describes 25. Now, let me get that right. One word that describes 25 years of the DA. What would your one word be? I mean, seriously, think about it, okay? So not so much a praise or a criticism, just one word that best describes it. But I'll get to some of your thoughts, further thoughts in a moment. In the meantime, let's get to another issue, and that is that of POPCRU, which is the Police and Prisons Civil Rights Union. POPCRU, well, they led a march earlier today to the Schauberg building in Pretoria to advocate for workers' rights and human dignity within the criminal justice sector. The union is also calling for a proper vetting process for SAPS workers who are responsible for training recruits. I wonder what the issue is according to them. Let's find out from Richard Mamabolo, the POPCRU spokesperson. Appreciate your time as always, Richard, here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you and the listeners.
Thank you. I take it, I mean, the march that you've undertaken represents a sense of disgruntlement. What is it that you're so disgruntled with?
Yeah, look, I think you would have heard that in the past 2 months, there had been a case reported about a sexual rape that has occurred at Training College. Now, this comes at the backdrop of us as the union having numerous campaigns since we embarked on our Restoring Dignity campaign as early as last year, wherein, of course, we've been engaging with members, we're encouraging our members to come out in cases that there are such abuses and workplace bullying and all such such behavior. Now, this, of course, has led to numerous other people calling us and complaining that some of their cases have not been properly addressed. And that is why we decided that it's quite important that we embark on this march to actually call out the Lieutenant General who is in charge of training, because some of these incidents take place at training colleges which are currently underway as we speak.
All right. What then, I mean, and in terms of the range of issues, so you've put that down as part of your march. What are your expectations in terms of what may come out of it?
Yeah, look, the first thing we want is that, the Lieutenant General must be removed from her position. We also want the establishment of specialized independent investigation units that will actually ensure that the SAPS management does not deal with complaints and want to resolve them on its own. So we want something independent. And of course, I think one of the issues that we had raised was that we want a clear vetting process that will be undertaken by all trainees within the training facilities, and of course the reform of the sexual harassment and misconduct policies of the SAPS.
So one is the part that you talked about, sexual harassment and other conduct. What about the other vetting, which for many people listening to the show, they would talk about the overall performance of police officers where they underperform, they don't do their job properly, and as a result, they undermine the entire police service?
That is certainly one of the things we're concerned about. But remember that this match that we're having today was part of our gender activities. So it fits in line with gender-related matters. Of course, there are many other issues that we could complain about. And this one was specifically focused on the training, but as a result of what had happened at the college in the past 2 months.
All right. Is there any other issues in terms of the vetting? Because they may come back and say, yes, I mean, I know they're only part of the union when they're employed by the SAPS, but let's say from a POP crew point of view, what can you do as a union?
Well, we'll be working towards sitting down with the National Police Commissioner and actually defining some of the, for example, a 24-hour hotline wherein we will obviously be in a position to get a month or rather a quarterly report from these members who might have challenges, and of course looking to what kind of cases the SAPS has been dealing with and where are these cases, have they resolved them, and if not, we will obviously be demanding answers as to why some of these cases have been dragging for so long.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Richard Mamabola, the POP crew spokesperson, and they on a march today with raising a whole lot of issues, specifically on the issue of vetting, because of the type of people that finally get employed within the SAPS. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Let's get to some other stories here. The Minister of Electricity, that's Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, announced that City Power will pay 3.2 billion rands to Eskom over a period of 4 years. Here's the story. All right, we'll come to that in just a moment or so. I also understand linked to that is that the city of Joburg, they've been very under fire. There was a plan to increase the tariffs, oh my goodness, regarding City Power, that most people in the city would pay for. But I understand they put a freeze on that. Let's get back then to the minister. Okay, we just... the minister's sound is freezing, which is rather ironic considering we are talking about power, aren't we? So let's see if we can do that. But that's the one other one. I'll tell you what we'll do if we can't. Okay, here we are. Let's sort that out.
Has been in dispute, and City Power, I want to emphasize, and City of Johannesburg have done everything possible to maintain paying the current account. Despite all these difficulties, of course, there will be challenges from 1 month to the other, but the issue, the one in dispute, they remained in dispute until we resolve this matter. So 3.2 billion rand paid of 4 years. And then we have also accepted that there are major challenges, and this is it's a nature of the structure of our tariff. So it's not necessarily a Joburg issue. There are major challenges with regards to tariffs during winter. I'm sure you know that there's a time of use, and during winter the tariff is particularly heavy. And of course, households, industries or customers find it very difficult to meet their obligations during winter. So we have accepted that during the winter period, so that we are able to extend that relief not only to City Power but also to the consumers. Of course, the consumers are paying their current account, but we don't want City Power to redirect that to be paying amounts that are in areas.
The process that we undertook from November, yes, it had its own challenges. But we want to acknowledge the work that the team had put in place to ensure that at the end we can arrive at a settlement that all of us would be comfortable with. And we think we're at the point where we are happy with the settlement as outlined by the minister. So both parties, City Power and Eskom, are also happy. So.
Okay, let's leave it at that. So, so I want to go back to that point about City Power and the city of Joburg. I understand that there'll be no increase, which is like quite a relief, considering how under fire the residents of that community have been, and how they've said that in the midst of being under fire and big lighting and power problems and water problems, there's been increase upon increase. So that's been frozen. The question then, it's like the budget. So where does then the mayor get the money from to be able to compensate for the loss of revenue streams coming out of the fact that they will not be able to add on that money and pass it on to the consumers to pay for it? Just think about that. Let's get the news headlines. It's 4:30.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the Ministers of Basic Education and Police, Siviwe Kwahube and Senzo Mchunu, have signed a protocol for intervention at schools affected by violence. And police have launched a manhunt for suspects following a cash-in-transit robbery this morning at Hlahatsi section in Katlehong North on Gauteng's East Rand. And shortly after agreeing to a truce, Israel says it's shot down 2 incoming Iranian missiles. Tehran has denied firing on Israel after the ceasefire came into force. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Khos.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the R24 eastbound in Kempton Park, queuing towards the R21 airport interchange. Solomon Mhlangu Drive in Pretoria has a truck crash reported at Garsfontein Road, and the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, queuing towards Crown interchange. In KZN, the M7 St. John's Avenue, queuing through central Pinetown. The N2 northbound has a crash after the M1 Higginson Highway exit, and the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle before Spaghetti Junction. In Cape Town, the N1 Service Road outbound, queuing towards the N7 Highway exit. The N2 inbound has a crash after Macassar Road exit, and Viking Way eastbound in Epping, slow moving towards the N7 Jakes Hartwell Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Khapele.
On a day that the Springboks celebrate, or South Africa celebrates 30 years since the Springboks won that very, very first World Cup in 1995. Think about it, Francois Pienaar, Nelson Mandela. Well, to his mind, understandably, is on the Springboks.
Do you remember where you were in 1995?
Yeah, I didn't go to the game, sadly so, but I watched it at home with family. Lots of my brother went, my nephew, some of them went, and like
nice.
You always regret, like, I should have been there, right?
Yeah.
But certainly the sense of joy, because that was a nation coming together still.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, 2 years before that, I would have never supported them, like no ways. But I've said so before, right? That the day I voted for the very first time, that's the day I supported South Africa in everything. Prior to that, I did not.
I was quite young. I don't even remember how old I was, but Sia was 4.
Was he a lighty?
Sia Kolisi was 4. And talking about Sia Kolisi, he's going to lead a Springbok match day 23 featuring 4 uncapped players in Saturday's clash against the Barbarians at Cape Town Stadium. Scrum anchor Asenati Ntlabakanye and flanker Vincent Chiduka start in a seasoned Bok pack, with hooker Marnus van der Merwe and tight head prop Neethling Fouché among the replacement for a 2025 opener, being treated with full test match intensity by the back-to-back world champions. The return of World Cup winner Loet de Jager headlines that tight 5, with the lock set to earn his first cap since July 2023. Meanwhile, Kolisi says that the 1995 Rugby World Cup had great impact on the country.
But obviously, I've seen videos and I've seen the impact that it's done, not only in rugby but in South Africa in general. We all know. I think that's why people look up to the team, or look to the team so much, because of what happened in 1995. And I think it also started the winning for South Africa in difficult circumstances, and it also showed the spirit of South African people, especially when the one game was going to get cancelled, how people find ways to make sure that the field was right for people to play. And I think the way this team is today, I think the way it represents South Africa, I think many of the people that wanted, things to move forward in South Africa will be very proud of how it's been. And I think we don't take for granted what we get to do, and it's changed in a way that everybody's trying to get access to rugby and make it easier in communities, and I've seen it where I come from. I mean, I come from a rugby playing community. Kids are excited. The Eastern Cape, the kids are excited. They want to play the sport, and it's growing more and more. And I think, it's been great.
So this is the clip where he starts by saying that he was 4 years old when the Springboks won back then. I always find these stories quite intriguing, or when you see like a young athlete now with like a veteran athlete, but him just saying that he was 4, it's absolutely crazy.
So you would have had no direct recollection because
right?
he's too young.
Yeah.
But you could get like a 10-year-old or 12-year-old, and maybe with Chester Williams, one day I want to be like you, and you become like that. Oh, what a story.
Always a great story.
Here's a quick question to think about. Which for you has had the greater impact for South Africa as a country? Us winning the 1995 Rugby World Cup, or the 96 African Cup of Nations, not the World Cup, or hosting the 2010 World Cup? I'm not talking about as a club, as a team. I'm talking about as a country. Think about that. I wonder.
Well, in football, Banyana left for Morocco this morning to participate in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, where they'll look to defend their title, Group C, alongside Mali, Tanzania, and Ghana. And they're going to open the tournament on the 7th of July against Ghana. Their opening fixture, against the Black Queens. Now, Banyana co-captain Amkhela Mutau says that what has assisted with their preparations is the presence of a video analyst in camp who is helping them analyze the whole Ghana team.
A video analyst that comes into that's in camp with us, Thabo Mnyamane, and he's currently helping us with that. But for now, our analysis is more on the team and not on individuals, because you get into individuals later, at the later stage when you are closer to the game. That's when you will pinpoint who the strongest players are. But for example, I've played against the likes of Jennifer Kuju, that's a midfielder from Ghana. She's quite good, but for me, again, the main focus is on the team, because that's the one thing that we want to break down and be able to win again.
In cricket, India wicketkeeper batsman Rishabh Pant has been handed an official reprimand for objecting during the ongoing first test against England. And now, Pant was found to have breached level 1 of the ICC Code of Conduct, with 1 demerit point added to the disciplinary record of the India vice-captain, for whom it was the first offence in 24 months. The incident occurred on Sunday during England's first innings, when Pant was having a discussion with the umpires regarding the condition of the ball, while Ben Stokes and Harry Brook were at the crease. Finally, in tennis, Jannik Sinner was named as the top men's seed at Wimbledon, having held the world number 1 position since June 2024. Carlos Alcaraz is the second seed for the second major in a row. Following the French Open, Alexander Zverev will be seeded 3rd at the All England Club, as he was at Roland Garros, while Novak Djokovic will be the number 6 seed, his lowest seeding at Wimbledon since he was ranked 12th in 2018. With regards to your question, Ashraf, I think for me it has to be the Springbok win. Like the Springbok win. I understand that the 2010 World Cup was big, but that Springbok win was humongous in terms of just bringing us together as a country from that apartheid era.
But if we didn't win, would we not still have rallied around the team, as per Nelson Mandela? That means, we could have lost the semi-final. Many swear that if there was VAR, Abdul Latif Benaziz scored a try for the French in the pool that was whatever, Kings Park, and we could have lost that semi-final.
We could have, but listen, we didn't. We won, and it somehow helped put a country together. So for me, it's that win.
I'm tempted to think that the 2010 was more significant from an industrialization of the country in terms of where it is, because you always get winners and losers, but that suggested a win for a country trying to pitch as a country, not as a team, amongst the countries of the world.
Yeah, but that team brought the country together. Talking about country.
Okay. I'm sure somebody's going to comment. So how, these things are short-lived. That's the problem. Right. We'll have more sports from Tumi, who's like already gone, right? In an hour's time. We'll get to the markets in a moment.
What if you open up more? Open up to learning and experiencing more of Mzansi and abroad? What if you open up culture and explore the extraordinary, from music to drama and the latest fashion? What if you open up your wild side, discover a world of skyscraping cities and brown sugar beaches? What if you open up your kitchen and immerse yourself in cuisines from all corners of the world? What if you open up your voice with all eyes on you without being seen? What if you open up your morning to lekker conversations and world-class entertainment? What if you open up more?
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. Victory demands everything, but the journey is never solo. My team carves the way, data and innovation are my compass. This is how today's champions are made.
Trade like a champion with CFI. Access over 15,000 instruments, advanced trading tools, 24/7 support, and superior trading services. Visit cfi.trade today. CFI Financial Markets LLC is a Category 1 licensed broker by the UAE Securities and Commodities Authority. Trading involves high risk.
CFI, empower yourself.
This business feature is sponsored by CFI, an authorized financial services provider, a global leader in online trading now available in South Africa. Visit cfi.trade today.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, to the markets we go. Makwe Masilela, as always, talks to us. He's the Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Right, there's local and global news first, but let's get to the annual results, capital appreciation, yeah?
Yes, Ashraf, this is a fintech and also involved in payment solutions. The guys continue to acquire new clients, initiated new projects with existing clients, renewed long-term contracts, terminal sales up 18.8%, hence revenue up 7.6%, overall financial performance in the form of EBITDA up 23%, and their profit and headline earnings per share up 25%, and not surprising to see dividend per share up 20%. Ashraf, global markets gained and oil fell. As Trump said, the ceasefire has been implemented between Israel and Iran, asset prices returning to levels seen before the tension between the two began. Going forward, it will depend on how feasible both Iran and Israel find the ceasefire to be, but generally sentiment was boosted by the announcement of that ceasefire. Market participants are now focusing on the Fed chairman testimony before Congress, and we know that policymakers in the US have been wary of the uncertainty surrounding the impact of Trump's aggressive tariffs, but now lately we had two voices supporting an interest rate cut as early as July. US Fed Chair emphasized when he testified that Fed's obligation to prevent ongoing inflation problem despite Trump's criticism, meaning the guy is no longer in a rush to cut interest rates, and oil prices extended losses as the geopolitical premium got deflated, and we've seen that Brent crude is up has been since yesterday trading within a range of $10. This is the wildest since July 2022. Today, Brent crude is down 3% at $68 a barrel. Israel-Iran ceasefire prompted investors to shift away from the safe haven asset. Hence, the yellow metal is under pressure. It's down 2%, and then platinum is down 0.3%. And the truth we know is fragile, but the global markets are celebrating, and we hope it's not a dead cat bounce. The JSE is up 0.6%, led by financials. The rand firmed to 0.9% against the dollar, 1769.414 against the pound, and 2058 against the euro.
Got all of that. Thanks for that, Makwe Masilela. We'll connect tomorrow. It also means that, let me remind you of the 1 hour of a dip into the markets with Jimmy Moyaha coming up from 6 to 7 tonight, as he does every single weeknight. So exclude the Fridays. You will certainly listen to him, right? What's also coming up very shortly is more of your thoughts, because we can't run the national pulse without getting a sense of what's on your pulse. And you certainly are, and I need to feel you right after this.
Thank you for tuning in to today's business feature, proudly sponsored by CFI, a leading trading app now available in South Africa. Download it now. Visit cfi.trade today.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, it's certainly been a busy time for the NUM, the National Union of Mine Workers. They've been holding their 18th National Elective Conference at the Birchwood Hotel. And now the SABC News economics reporter is Katlego Legodi, who's been at Boksburg for day one of the Congress. Let's find out what happened there so far and what's still to happen. Katlego, good to connect with you as always on the National Pulse.
It's always you, and hello to our listeners as well.
Thank you. Hopefully the line can get better as we continue chatting. Perhaps give us a sense then of what has happened so far on day one.
So day one really categorized on a reflection of where those that are part of the National Union of Mine Workers find themselves in the economy to date, and they are just basically looking at electing a new leadership that would ensure that some of these issues that are reflected upon would become things of the past. So here we see them marking day one of this elective conference. It is a conference or a congress that sits every 3 years. So they sit to elect a new leadership that will then move the organization forward. So here we find the members of the Tripartite Alliance supporting the work of the SACP, the work of the NUM, the NUM being home, if I can remind our listeners, to about 200,000 workers. It is one of the largest labor unions in the country. And hence you see the Tripartite Alliance, COSATU, the SACP, and the ANC coming through to form part of day one.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of this new leadership, I mean, are you able to get a sense of where the votes are? I mean, there clearly has to be lobbying from different groupings. So what are the sentiments like?
So it's basically a toe-to-toe between the outgoing president, Daniel Balepile, and the deputy, Mr. Vilakazi, who deputized him for the last 3 years. We see also a move in terms of the was an acting position within the Secretary General position within the NUM. So we'll see that position being filled here. But one can say that most of them are just looking towards the changes that will come with the presidency position. Speaking to Daniel Balepile, the outgoing president earlier on, he was resolute that he is coming back. He's looking to ensure, and he was really confident that he had done the groundwork in terms of lobbying the members, but also at the same time saying what's important is the unity of the organization going forward, saying that if there is one of the leaders here that does not come out victorious, theirs would be to champion or to rally behind the newly elected leadership, saying that theirs would be to grow the membership of the union over time. They've been losing and bleeding numbers, so they're looking at just shifting their focus to that, the unity of the workers. They're saying that is sacrosanct in ensuring that indeed against the global tensions that are playing themselves out, even here at home, the slow growth economy does have a little bit of an impact, not a full-on impact on the workers on the ground. So they are looking at ensuring that at least this new crop of leaders that emerges here in the 3 days will move to bring about change in the workers' life.
Mm-hmm. Now, you often pick up a lot of what an organization, what their vision is on the basis of their theme. So the theme for this year is the epoch for the dictatorship of the proletariat, now or never. I must say, even reading that and reading that twice and thrice, I'm pretty confused. I mean, what do you understand by that?
It is very confusing, even to me. But what they are talking about here is that they are looking at championing the workers' rights over time. They're saying that over time the workers' rights have been facing enforced threats here. They had singled out the government of national unity as the biggest threat to the workers' gains over time. So they're saying that as we see this shift taking place here at home politically, they would also want to organize themselves. Again, you hear them talking about the missed opportunities that would come from a beneficiation of these minerals. They are saying that the country is endowed with minerals, but over time, we haven't really seen, in this epoch that they're describing here, we haven't seen these minerals working for the workers. So they're looking at approaching, the next turn, the next term differently. They're also looking at ensuring that they push for the critical minerals to really in any way come through for the country's economy. They're talking about this being a game changer where the country's economy is concerned, but they're saying that this would come through intentional policy undertakings that would speak to beneficiation, because they're saying that there are day in, day out, there are these minerals that pit support.
Okay.
Workers are mining these minerals, but they don't get to benefit from them.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it. Much appreciate your time and reflecting there on the NU and the National Union of Mine Workers conference that started today will go on for another 2 more days, so tomorrow and the next day. And that theme, just so that you get it, because you can tell me what is your understanding of it. Remember, you're going to a conference, you want to get a catch line that everybody buys into immediately. And the theme is the epoch, so EPOCH, the epoch for the dictatorship of the proletariat, now or never. Help me understand it in a world of quick communication where we all need to get it in one quick go. Thanks for your time, Katlego Legodi. Now we have you to tell us about the epoch and other things too, right after this.
Orbit College is highly spirited and believe they are intelligent enough to secure 3 vital points. But the citizens are confident they will prevail with their top-flight football experience. This is the PSL Promotional Playoffs. Catch the hot contest between Orbit College and Cape Town City on Wednesday, 25 June at 2:30 p.m. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC2. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Got a Standard Bank business account and self-service banking? You could win up to 5,000 Rand cash every day this week in the Standard Bank Self-Service Quiz. SMS Standard Bank Self-Service to 45787 for a chance to be selected. Answer 2 easy questions about Standard Bank self-service banking to be a winner. Tune in every day this week on the Midday Link-Up to see if it's you. Standard Bank. It can be. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
All right, so much to talk about. I need to get to your thoughts. But before that, listen, I'm not one to take chances. I don't. But if you're up for it, great things can happen when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 59 million rands in total, estimated jackpots today, in fact. So don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 36 million rands and Powerball Plus for 23 million rand estimated, right? Buy your tickets now in store on the nationallottery.coza, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
All right, let's have the conversation. DA 25 years as the DA, one word to describe the DA, that journey of 25 years, but also you can add more in terms of its overall impact. Helen Zille for Mayor of Joburg, she's quite clear that she will stand if she gets elected, of course, internally within the DA and then as a party within the city. So it's a long way to go, but she's keen. That's important. And here's the other one. So 30 years ago today, the Springboks won the Rugby World Cup, that momentous day, this newborn country, 1 year into democracy, and we win the Rugby World Cup. And that image of Francois Pienaar, who I had the privilege of sharing a platform with 2 weeks ago, in fact, in Cape Town, remember, at the launch of the One Young World for Cape Town event coming up next year. Him and Nelson Mandela, and powerful symbols of a country coming together. But here's the question to you. What for you is the greater achievement? The Springboks winning the Rugby World Cup in 1995, the Bafana team winning the 1996 African Cup of Nations tournament, or just South Africa winning the bid and then hosting the 2010 World Cup. So that's not a team game, I know, but it is a team game. They were competing with others too. What for you is the greater achievement for South Africa? It's not sport, I understand that, but I'd like to get your thoughts. Younger in Cape Town, let's talk about the Constitution. Hello.
Yes, Ashraf. You know, if I had means or powers, you know, I was going to put 300 white crosses, you know, at the stairs of the Constitutional Court, as a symbol to say, you know, more than 300 people were murdered in KZN during the July unrest as a direct result of the recklessness, of the decision that the Constitutional Court had made to send someone to prison without putting him to trial, And of course, they had a choice. I'm not saying Jacob Zuma was supposed to be let go scot-free. I mean, punish him, but to take his liberty, not considering that the age, his health, and a first-time offender. We know of suspended sentences, house arrest, and even a fine, but they chose this route, disregarding the mood of the country during those days. But they had plenty of choice to make. To say punish Jacob Zuma, but direct prison, was it a right thing to do? And look what happened.
So what would have been the adequate punishment then? Because you see, a constitution, I'm not a lawyer, but they never look at the personality. They don't look at the personality. They look at the policy, yeah.
Okay, house arrest is an option. He's a first-time offender. A fine, community service, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But a direct prison.
Okay.
And, businesses were closed. 300 people murdered. So for me, I'm saying they have blood in their hands. It is so unfortunate that they had to take that route, and look what happened. So the July unrest were dark days, in the history.
Well, they
of
certainly
our country.
were dark days, no question about that. What caused the dark days is another conversation, isn't it, Younger? Thanks for that call. Let's get to Andre from Cape Town. We go to Durban. Andre in Durban, hello.
Ashraf,
Yeah,
great show as always.
Much appreciated.
Ashraf,
Yeah.
earlier you mentioned, you gave a breakdown of, with regards to the leaders and in the DA and stuff, and you gave a breakdown of 90% black.
Yeah.
And then you broke that down and you said it's black Africans, black colored, black Indians.
Yeah.
I'm colored, but I've never been referred to as a black colored. I understand what you were saying by that, but I feel maybe you should have said 90% non-white.
No, but non-white
Because
is such a wide. But you see, non-white
because we are never considered black colored.
But are you considered white as well to be defined as non-white?
I'm only considered colored. I'm never
right.
referred to as black.
Now, you do know constitutionally, this is not what you feel. Constitutionally, coloreds are considered black. Constitutionally. You do know that. I understand what you're saying in practice. There are many people who say they feel they're in the middle. They're not white enough. They're not black enough. I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, for example, what is affirmative action and what is B. In terms of the Constitution, colored people are defined as black, and so are Indians.
I understand what you're saying by that.
Yeah,
technically.
Okay. So that's the point I was bringing up. Andre, thank you for that, right? Okay, to Polokwane we go. Clue on the line. Let's talk about BEE. Yeah.
Hi, how are you there?
Yeah, good, man. How's it?
I'm good. Actually, the topic is so good that I need to divert from BEE to this issue of DA.
Okay,
Look,
go for it.
DA from where it's governing there and then is doing very well. But then the only issue that I think DA is missing, which we have mentioned earlier, is that they need to be a representative of the majority of black people. Black people mentioning colored, Indian, and African in general. So the strategy that they are doing is okay. It's like now, if I'm black like myself, now I'm thinking, okay, I need to vote DA. The majority of the South African people is 90%. Then the other racial group is 10%. So how can, I think DA, they're missing the point. How can their strategy should be, they need to, as they're doing good, trying to overpower or to say, let's recruit more people to think that we are doing much better to represent them. How am I going to be represented by a white person? Like 80% of their leadership is like white people across all the board. So I'm thinking that they need, and the way that they are going, for me as a voter, I'm going to sit and say, okay, no problem. DA want to rule the country, but I cannot be ruled by the 10% of the minority. I need to be ruled by the... So, but then when the structure, according to if they infiltrate their structure to say, okay, let's... You mentioned very good. Where's their project of embedding black people leadership? I mean, it's got quality leadership of black people in South Africa. How is their project of recruiting? Because at some point they need to recruit those people. Say, look, we need to come on board. Because at some point I heard Ellen Silo was saying their strategy in terms of if you want to be a councillor, if you want to be a mayor, because now I think she wants to be a mayor of Joburg. If you want to be a mayor, you need to be. There's levels. Where are those levels, layers in the DA, whereby they are showing the voters like me to say, look, you are doing a good job in Cape Town. You are doing although of course it's questionable there and there, but then probably better than the ANC, probably better than the DF.
All right,
probably.
but okay,
they need to get that right.
All right, I think you've made your point, and it's an important point. And let me just reiterate what I said earlier on, because I think it's true that, you know, one thing is, so I use the example of a football club. At grassroots, you grow your new talent, and let's say the DA is doing that. Then when these grassroots players become older, they're leaving the club. So why is it that they're leaving the club? What are the conditions that's forcing them to leave the club? On the other hand, because you can't wait for 20 years to develop a league champion, while they're growing grassroots, you then go and target new players to join your club. And if those new players are not joining your club, then there's clearly something that they see wrong in your project. Even though they see some success, they see something wrong, and they have to do that. Now, the flip side of that point is this, that you get the ANC, for example, that may target, say, black interests to like 90% or even more, and then their service delivery record is poor. And also, that also needs justification. So that's why so many people are disgruntled with the ANC as well, to say, we see you, so you claim you speak on behalf of everybody, and your service delivery suggests completely otherwise. Can you see why we have a problem with the two biggest countries in our country, the African National Congress and the DA? There lies the conundrum. Let's get the news. Here's Greg House.
Launch of the Safe Schools Protocol, and Israel claims more Iranian missiles fired. Good day to you. The Ministers of Basic Education and Police, Severe Gwachube and Senzum Gunu, have signed a protocol for intervention at schools affected by violence. It's called the Safe Schools Protocol. The Department of Basic Education says alarming levels of violence at schools, such as rape and murder, have necessitated the move. Minister Gwachube says safety committees will be formed involving all sectors of the schooling community.
Over and above signing this, him and I will be going around the country to make sure that this kind of coordination between our staff members is happening, from principals to station commanders, so that we can create this culture of collaboration. Because it's going to be important, if we're going to bring these incidents down, then we have to make sure that this kind of collaboration is happening in earnest.
Police crime figures for the 2023-24 financial year indicate that 28 murders took place at schools, nearly half being learner-on-learner violence. In addition, 2/3 of reported rapes in schools also involved learner-on-learner violence. Police Minister Senzum Gunu says violence at schools will not be tolerated.
They include bringing to schools drugs in schools and usage thereof by small children. Some children have now a tendency of carrying some firearms, and there are incidents of extortion, there are incidents of rape, there are incidents of even murder in schools, and hence we're here today to say no to that.
Investigations are underway following a cash-in-transit heist next to the Klahatsi Mall in Katlehong, east of Johannesburg. According to initial police reports, one bystander was hit by a car. Police say while 2 of the safes were not opened, the suspects were able to flee the scene with some money. The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has officially dissolved all 11 regions of the party. The decision was made by the provincial task team introduced earlier this year. The party says the move aims to kickstart the rebuilding process of all its structures ahead of the local government elections next year. The party's support in the province dropped from 54% to 17% after last year's general elections, resulting in it losing outright control of the province. ANC provincial convener Jeff Khadebe.
The ANC Provincial Working Committee has also finalized the establishment of the ANC Regional Task Team in all the 11 regions of KwaZulu-Natal. These task teams consist of capable, disciplined, and committed cadres who have demonstrated unwavering loyalty to the movement and a capacity for organizational leadership. They are entrusted with restoring stability, unity, and a renewed sense of purpose within all our structures in the ANC and the broader alliance.
Shortly after agreeing to a truce, Israel says it shot down 2 incoming Iranian missiles. Iran has denied firing on Israel after the ceasefire came into force. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz said he ordered the military to respond with powerful strikes against targets in the heart of Iran's capital, Tehran. The BBC's Dan Johnson has more.
We have seen that single missile that was then fired towards the north of Israel. At least that is the claim of the Israelis. Exactly what happened there is still unclear. The Iranians are denying that attack, denying that they launched any further missiles. There's a suggestion that that might be some rogue unit of the missile command structure that has decided not to respect the ceasefire. We don't have any independent verification of that. It's not clear exactly how that missile was dealt with. We're told it was safely intercepted, that it didn't cause any further damage, but it has led to the Israelis promising a further retaliation.
Top story, the Ministers of Basic Education and Police have signed a protocol for intervention at schools affected by violence. That's SAFM News, I'm Greg Goos.
In sports this hour, Ntlabakanye sheds weight to make Springbok cut. Orlando Pirates sign Bule, and Wimbledon hope to have Murray's statue ready for 2027. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Germiston, queuing towards Geldenhuys interchange. The M2 westbound has a crash reported at Denver. The N12 westbound has a crash reported on the link to the N1 south at Diepkloof interchange. And Garsfontein Road eastbound in Pretoria is closed between Windsor Road and Solomon Mhlangu Drive due to a truck crash in the area. In KZN, the M7 St. John's Avenue is queuing through central Pinetown. In Cape Town, the M7 Jakes Hadville Drive southbound has a crash reported after Turfel Road. The M5 southbound is queuing towards the N2 highway, and Voortrekker Road eastbound slow moving through Kensington due to roadworks. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.5 FM in Hout Bay.
Orbit College is highly spirited and believe they are intelligent enough to secure 3 vital points. But the citizens are confident they will prevail with their top-flight football experience. This is the PSL Promotional Playoffs. Catch the hot contest between Orbit College and Cape Town City on Wednesday, 25 June at 2:30 p.m. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC2. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Got a Standard Bank business account and self-service banking? You could win up to 5,000 Rand cash every day this week in the Standard Bank self-service quiz. SMS Standard Bank self-service to 45787 for a chance to be selected. Answer 2 easy questions about Standard Bank self-service banking to be a winner. Tune in every day this week on the Midday Link-Up to see if it's you. Standard Bank. It can be. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power, and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world, empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, 25 years of the DA. Let's talk about that, right? And by the way, that we'll talk about the Springboks, not just them, but there's a golf day, by the way, that reflects on what happened 30 years ago, and money's being raised for, I understand, a rugby program in Soweto. We'll talk about that just now. But 30 years of the DA, we had a chat with Helen Zille to start the show. Listen to that conversation. Just go to the podcast, right? We've tweeted it already, so if you find us on the X platform, you'll find it. But otherwise, go to safm.coza on the website, then podcast, then check for the National Pulse. You'll find that and all the other conversations, including the one about Israel versus USA versus Iran. That's just been so topical regarding Donald Trump today using that four-letter word to describe both Israel and Iran. Oh, my goodness. Has that ever happened before? I'm still waiting for an answer. Can you think of a head of state of any country in the world that, facing the media, describes two other countries using a four-letter word to describe how effectively hatful he is of both of them? Okay, that's one. Right. So Helen Zille, you can check that up. She was very clear about their successes, but also issues we've raised. We'll raise it again now with as we continue that conversation even further. We have with us now Sanette Solomon, who's a political analyst from the University of South Africa. Sanette, much appreciate your time on the National Pulse. Hi. Sanette, do I have you there? Okay, we may have just... There's been a disconnection just for the moment. We'll try and reconnect with Sanette Solomon in just a second or two. It just gives me a moment to tell you. In fact, what we'll do, we're going to change some of that chat as we just move on to another guest in a moment or so, right? Let me just remind you as well. In terms of your suggestions that you may have at any time that we talk about issues, feel free to bring that up. And the best way sometimes with suggestions is you can just tweet them out, right? In fact, what we'll do, we just change that for a moment. So we're not going to have Sanette. In fact, we've got Professor Dirk Coetzee, who's a political analyst, as you know, from UNISA. Prof. Coetzee, much appreciate your time on the National Pulse. Hi.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's talk about this. 25 years for the DA. Upon reflection, one word for you that best describes their 25-year performance?
Quite tumultuous. I think they came from a situation where they were regarded as a liberal party, as a white party, as a sort of a remnant of, let's say, the period before 1994, actually, and that they were seen as a party that was sort of representing a very particular group amongst white persons primarily. And I think that over time now, and especially since last year, they are starting to change their complexion and the role that they are playing from essentially an opposition party to a party that's a little bit in the middle between government and opposition. So I think in that sense, they've gone through difficult times, especially during the time of when Mmusi Maimane was the leader and then resigned from the DA, and the same with Herman Mashaba. So it's a colourful history that they have.
Interesting, in my conversation with Helen earlier, she said they had to get rid of what she called as and I'm paraphrasing, the woke culture that was growing within the DA. So, of course, woke as in W-O-K-E, right? Do you think that has helped the DA? The fact that they got rid of the woke culture, and that means no Mmusi Maimane, no Herman Mashaba and others too?
Yeah, I think it's slightly more complex than that. It's not simply about... It is about changing the culture of the DA. It is also changing the sort of the way in which they looked at themselves and what they were the champions of, and what I've said now in the beginning, for many people, especially the more traditional supporters of they were very firm on the notion that they are the party that must promote liberalism in South Africa. And that with that, for example, human rights, as well as the free market system, where they, since then, I think they have moved on economic policy, for example, they've moved quite some bit away from a overtly free market system to what they call a market system. And I think this is also something. So it is incremental changes. But I would say the DA of today versus the DA of 10, 15 years ago are quite different from each other.
All right, then upon reflection, what for you then has been the big success stories of the DA? What have they got right?
I think what they got right was, I would say, their main achievement is the fact that they have been now part of the government of national unity, and that they have moved away from being a party of opposition to a party in government and sometimes of government. They've used a concept which was a very funny one at the time, and that is that they relaunched themselves in 2008. And I was, in a sense, part of it, and I crossed a little bit of swords with Helen Zille about that and what it actually meant at that point. But what she introduced with that was the idea that the DA is not anymore simply an opposition party, but it was actually a party that tried to become involved in government.
But how much of that is a success of the DA? What I'm saying that in the last election we had last year, they didn't exactly grow, right? What actually happened was the African National Congress dropped and they lost their votes to one significant party, and that caused the reshuffle that has forced parties to come together and strike out a GNU deal.
Yes, but what we've seen is I don't think we should concentrate necessarily only on last year's election. I mean, one should look at what happened earlier on in 2006 in Cape Town already, then Western Cape as province, then 2016 with the metros, Johannesburg, Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Bay, and then last year with the national and the provincial elections. So there was a gradual change, and I think it would be wrong to say that all the changes happened last year, from the DA as primarily an opposition party, now a party that shares government. So in that sense, I think people don't have necessarily appreciate that the historical perspective of how it changed over time. For example, here where I'm living in Tshwane, I never could have imagined that I will be in a city that's not governed by the ANC. And since 2016, it has been at some points that case.
But that can apply to the whole country as well, right? I hear that. So Helen Zille talks about consolidated democracy as her one word or phrase that describes the ANC's performance in 25 years. What has been the ANC's shortcomings? The DA's shortcomings. Where have they failed in 25 years?
Well, I think they failed initially, until very recently, in projecting their public image. They have failed to demonstrate that they have been more than simply a liberal party and simply an opposition and simply a white party. And because, if you do simply the mathematics, it shows that their percentage is much more than the white population. So I think in that sense, their public relations, their public projection of themselves were not necessarily so successful. At the same time, I think when it comes to the role that they've played, and especially as opposition party, and how they have tried to influence the economic debate, I think they have also failed in that respect. Very often they have gone back to a sort of a principled position on that, which actually required a more pragmatic approach. In that sense, they very often did not, I would say, engage the governing party, the ANC, for most of the time, very much in terms of a substantive debate. It was very much sort of ideological debates that took place. And it was DA versus the ANC in terms of ideological positions. And I think there they lost some opportunities, because what we are seeing now with some of them as ministers is that there's a much more nuanced approach that's being followed now. And it's also clear that they can have a more of an engagement with the ANC and other parties. It's not this polarized situation of the past.
Okay, they're certainly having that engagement, although publicly before that last election they were at each other's throats, particularly the DA versus the ANC. So, the world is a strange world we live in anyway, right? Now, one of the things that I raised with Helen Zille, notwithstanding your 20% point you made earlier on, is the fact that one of the biggest shortcomings of the DA, that it appears to be untransformed and therefore does not speak, or it doesn't come across as speaking for the vast majority of the country. Because put it another way, if the ANC has performed as miserably as it has in another world, then the second party going into the election, the DA, would have had a huge opportunity to grow massively to effectively win an election. Its inability to do so, for me, is directly related to its inability to be seen as a party that speaks for the majority, even though many may believe that they govern well in areas where they do govern.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. And that sort of complements what I'm trying to say about their sort of public projection of who they are and what they want to achieve, and how they want to, and even some of their policies. For example, there's one thing which is very pronounced in the last number of months now is about policies like on black economic empowerment. What they don't say clearly is that they support the principle but not the policy. But the general public doesn't understand it because they don't explain it like that. So I think in that sense, there are many opportunities for the DA in order to strengthen their position, and as well as to be able to demonstrate that they are supposed to be a South African party and not a Western Cape party or a white party.
So here's the last thing to end with, right? Just with a short answer. Going forward, it's 25 years now. Going to the next 5 years, what's the one thing the DA must get right now?
Well, I think first of all they will have to consolidate their position when it comes to leadership. There's again, next year, around about April, they are going to have their Federal Congress. So that will be the opportunity for them to say, well, we have done some experimentation and so on, and this is who we are. I think they need, although they've already done it to some extent, I think for them there's an opportunity to mobilize more the younger voters, the young voters. Okay. They are not necessarily so successful with that. And as well as being able to consolidate certain positions, especially in the metros here. The DA is in and out of that all the time. There's now very soon a motion of no confidence in Johannesburg.
Thank you for that. Let's leave it at that. Professor Dirk Coetzee, in fact, Helen Zille is saying she may be up for mayor, and she confirmed that. Given the chance, she would grab it if she was asked by the DA and then by council at Joburg. This is the National Pulse.
What if you open your night to culture? Try new things and make space for new voices, new stories, and new perspectives. Open up your Saturday night with world-class entertainment, reality TV, and drama from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Okay, we're going to get to some of your comments in just a moment. Let me just remind you, I still want to get your thoughts on the conversation we just had regarding the DA. 25 years in, what's your perspective? Where's the DA won? In which, they've won things and they've lost things, like other parties. Where have they won and where have they lost? I'd love to know. In the meantime, talking about winning and losing, I'm not one for gambling, but if you want to take a chance, great things can happen when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus. For 59 million rands in total, estimated jackpots, well, it comes up today, right? So play Powerball for an estimated 36 million rands, and then Powerball Plus for an estimated 23 million rands today. Buy your tickets now in store on the nationallottery.coza, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial. Here's the number, star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ichuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Okay, we should connect with Katlego Dikobo from the township, the chairperson of the Township Rugby Youth, in a few minutes' time, reflecting on the World Cup Unity celebrations of 1995. In the meantime, I want to hear you in Tlantla in KZN. Go for it.
My brother, thank you for taking my call. How are you?
I'm very good indeed, right? Thank you. Yeah.
The DA, I don't see it changing from what it was. It still perpetuates inequality, exploiting workers. With its new policies, they want to.
In Tlantla? I think we've just lost you for a second. By the way, did you hear what Floyd Shivambu had to say about some key people within the DA? Within the MK party yesterday. 1, Zuma's daughter. 2, the spokesperson. I wonder.
Ashraf, good afternoon. It's Langa here from Maritzburg. You know, I'm a farmer as well, but I just want to congratulate John Steenhuisen for what he has done in terms of capping the spread of FMD, the foot and mouth disease. You know, but my question is that is it wise for him to inject 19 million, plus minus 19 million rands into current beef? That is a private entity to help a private entity cap the spread of the disease. That's the first part. The second part of my question is that are the meat consumers feeling the pinch already of this pandemic? Has the price gone up as yet? Thank you.
Okay.
From my respect.
Thanks for that. Don't know about the price going up. Your point about Karen beef is interesting. So I had a chat yesterday with the MEC for Agriculture in Gauteng. Listen to that conversation. It's up as a podcast as well. We didn't touch, we mentioned Karen beef, but not whether they should get support. But she did make the point about the need to have these animals vaccinated, okay, or to receive some sort of a vaccine of sorts as a very important factor. Now, if somebody else knows more, I'm certainly happy to hear that.
Good afternoon, Mr. A. I wish when your friend, Mr. Pali Liutla, former Statistician General, when he's there in the studio next time again, you must ask him or anyone who's doing the counting of unemployed people, why are they starting at the age of 15 years? I mean, 15 years supposed to be at school. They are not supposed to count from 15 years. Totally wrong. You must ask them, why are they doing that? Because from 15 to 21, those people are at school. And by the way, under the age of 15 years, we are not allowed to employ such a person. So I don't know why are they doing that. Educated people. Disgrace, Pastor Cape Town.
Okay, Pastor, thank you so much. In fact, let's just ask Stats SA exactly, if we can, about the point that you've just raised, right? Here's another point.
Afternoon, Ashraf, here as of the station. You see, I feel sorry for Ubabu Jeff Hatebe. He's leading the ANC here, KwaZulu-Natal, and we can see he's trying his level best to restore ANC. And we know for the fact he's a man of people. If he's talking to the people, people are listening. But this time, it's too late. The water is above his neck. ANC slept number 3, and is going to sleep number 3. It's going to be worse than, or be exactly on the same position. Tusi from Inanda, bye.
Okay, got that. Well, I think there's been some drama of sorts in in KZN, as you heard from the various ANC branches being disbanded. So I think that's your point about feeling sorry for Jeff Radebe. It's like big job, but it does reflect the state of the ANC in many regions, isn't it?
I'd like to say happy birthday to the DA, and the one word I would use to describe them is actually two words that will say good governance. Actually not good, great governance. Happy birthday to the DA, and keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Interesting. When you say good governance, it almost sounded like good riddance, but clearly that's not the case. Points taken. Thank you for that. I wonder who else agrees with that, right?
Good day, SAFM, Ashraf, and all the listeners of SAFM. This is Brother Johnny from Megenburg in the Western Cape. Ashraf, I see you compare now soccer match when you talk about the DA. But soccer match that the sports people must buy the best players to win. So are you telling us now that the DA must go and buy a leader, a black leader, to lead them? No, Ashraf, it doesn't work like that, man. You must work yourself up. Bye-bye. I'm not a DA fan, but nevertheless, the DA is doing very good in Cape Town, and that's why Cape Town is the best province in the whole Africa. Bye-bye.
Okay, there we are. Well, listen, I mean, are we suggesting that certain members of parties are not attractive to others? Just think about the MK party. Where did all their players come from? Think about it. Where did they come from? Where did the Secretary General, former Secretary General of the MK party come from? It clearly was seen attractive enough from another party to get to the MK. You get what I'm trying to say. Don't look at it literally in money terms. It's an important issue. Right, 5:30, there's the news headlines.
Quick look at the headlines. The Eastern Cape government has warned residents to be extra cautious as the province braces for an intense cold front between Thursday and Friday this week. The Ministers of Basic Education and Police have signed a protocol for intervention at schools affected by violence. And Sudan's former Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok says the conflict in his country has led to a humanitarian crisis. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound queuing towards Buccleuch interchange, the M1 southbound queuing towards Boysons, and the N1 southbound queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive in four ways. In KZN, the N3 westbound in Pietermaritzburg queuing towards New England Road, the M7 has truck congestion reported at South Coast Road, so expect delays, and Umhlanga Rocks Drive is slow moving between Glen Hills and Sunningdale. In Cape Town, the M7 northbound in Dunoon queuing towards Malibongwe Drive exit, Marine Drive outbound in Pardon Island queuing towards Lagoon Beach, and Marine Drive outbound in Milnerton is queuing towards Racecourse Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Khapele.
Right, Chumi, you've got some, you're staying with the rugby theme of winning and losing, isn't it?
Yeah, and this time around we're looking at Springbok debutant Asenathi Ntlabakanye, who has been rewarded for his hard work and commitment, earning a starting spot at Tight Head Pro in Saturday's clash against the Barbarians. He's one of the 4 uncapped players in Coach Rassie Erasmus' squad. Now, Erasmus revealed that the 26-year-old had to shed significant weight to break into the national team. Ntlabakanye has been making regular trips from Johannesburg to scrum coach Dance Farm in Bloemfontein to improve his conditioning and technique. And Erasmus says the prop has been on the Boks radar for 2 years, and now finally he gets his chance in the green and gold.
Yeah, I think, Adnan, it's like when you look at a player that in the past that we say it's too light, like Cheslin, everybody said it's too light, and then you go and say, but what area of the game does Cheslin not man up, or Kirtley? Well, they make their tackles, they do their aerial skills, they tackle guys back, they beat the guy in front of them, so it can be the other way around if you're one of the heavy guys. Look at a guy like Frans Malherbe, nobody would say, listen, he's a front page model or something like that, but hell, he can front a play. He does his job in the scrum and he gets up, and he's maybe not the most athletic guy. And as a Naki, you've got somebody which we see has got unbelievable touch for the game, feel for the game, just like Newton has. Ox has an unbelievable feel for the game. We're not just talking scrum specifically. So when we started looking at him 2 years ago, now we started tracking his actual battle rates, and it's up there with the other guys. So we're trying to, and obviously then when we got him in with the help of Rudolph and Cash from Alliance, the Citizen one, we want to get this right. We went a few times to Don's farm and stayed there for a week, and Don worked with him there when the Lions fell out, with the blessing of the Lions, of their coach and their CEO. And whenever there's a break, he drove to Bloemfontein, went to the farm, and now he's dropped 15 to 18 kilogram, which let's hope he can do it at test match level. That would be great.
Well, Siya Kolisi will lead the side, and the return of World Cup winner Loet de Jager headlines the tight five, with the lock set to earn his first cap since July 2023. Meanwhile, 18 players with test experience from across the world touched down in Cape Town at the start of the week, reporting for duty for the Barbarians. The 23-man squad, which includes former junior Springbok lock Ruben van Heerden of the DHL Stormers and coached by Robbie Deans, are prepared to take on the Springboks for the first time on South African soil. In football, Orlando Pirates have officially unveiled Sipho Mbule as the first signing for the 2025-26 season. The 27-year-old joins the Soweto Giants as a free agent after Mamelodi Sundowns opted not to extend his contract. Now, Mbule spent the previous season on loan at Sekhukhune United, where he impressed with the consistent performances. Meanwhile, former Orlando Pirates midfielder Thandanani and Jumayelo has urged Mbule to remove off-field distractions and focus on his football career.
Very. From the first stage, I think first stage we never had a talent like this. He's up there. I'm talking about talent, and obviously, there's a lot of players from first stage, but with talent, no one can touch.
But talent is not enough.
Talent with no discipline. Imagine I see myself on. Even if I'm clean, I see myself on a newspaper with Kagiso Rabada's case. I see with footballers, they show me, they show, I think, Chabu. Imagine. You don't want to be...
But the Kagiso Rabada case, is it something that you've been looking at? Because there's been a lot of comparisons made about it.
Yeah,
and especially even in terms of the sentencing, in fact, the judgment as well.
Times. I've been tagged and people asking me, what do I think? There's nothing that I can do. It's the same as there's footballers I still take that I knew then, but I never said anything. It's not my case to win.
Meanwhile, Banyana left for Morocco this morning to participate in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, where they'll look to defend their title. They are in Group C alongside Mali, Tanzania and Ghana, and will open their tournament on the 7th of July against the Black Queens. And here's Coach Desiree Ellis.
Tell you about the camp. Yes, we're going in as defending champions, but we're going in as a contender as well. You mustn't forget that we're defending champions from 2022, but we also are a contender for this one, like everyone else. The camp has been tough. It's been difficult. Selections always is, and I think that is the hardest part of the job with the selections, because you have so many players raising their hands, and you have to make sure that you get everything right, the combinations, the mix, everything. You have to look at the versatility of players, how that's going to impact later in the tournament.
Finally, in tennis, the All England Club is set to recognise Sir Andy Murray's contribution to tennis with a statue of him at Wimbledon. Now, Murray ended Britain's 77-year wait for a men's singles champion at Wimbledon with the memorable victory over Novak Djokovic back in 2013. And the Scot retired from professional tennis in August 2024 following an appearance at the Olympic Games in Paris. That's it from my side. I'll be back again between 7 and 8. And today we are celebrating with the Springboks their 30-year anniversary of winning that 1995 win. And in terms of our guest for this evening, we're actually talking to Kobus Visser.
Great.
Looking back at
You need
1995.
to be tuned in then. Absolutely. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Just by the way, has there been a South African cricket team road tour? Why am I not hearing anything?
Well, I wouldn't say road tour per se, but they were there in Sandton and they went to their different sponsors to celebrate with them.
Yeah, but that would be like in the big city. Have they gone to like 4 regions at least? I'm not talking of 9 regions. The question is why not? It's not
Maybe
like they
because it's not a World Cup.
But yes, it's a bit different, but it's like winning the league championship. If you get my point.
You'd go around the country after winning the league
Well,
championship?
listen, it's not like they've won every week, where you can say, like for the other day, to give you an example,
yeah.
I went to buy a trophy for a paddle, 50-plus paddle tournament.
Mhm.
And this guy in the store tells me, he doesn't know me from anywhere, okay? I just held on to this trophy. And he tells me, but he knows nothing about me. And he says, well, I suggest you hold on to this trophy very tightly because you Man United supporters, that's the only trophy you're going to hold on to this year.
Are you suggesting the same with the Proteas?
No, I hope it changes. But up to now, it's the only trophy we've won. It's the only one we've won. Think about it.
I hear you. But that said, Modimo.
This week on Off Pitch Goals, having been a defensive rock for the Pefeni Glamour Boys, Kaiser Chiefs, Jomo Cosmos and Supersport United, Morgan Gould goes from threading passes to selling the most stylish threads in urban streetwear. He takes us through the rigors of the fashion industry, tackling design, manufacturing and retail. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 on Saturday, 28 June at 8:30 p.m. Off Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
A new client, a bulk discount, a chance to expand. Business opportunities don't wait, but with a Standard Bank Business Revolving Loan, neither do you. Get up to 10 million Rand in funding, access it anytime, and borrow again as you repay, giving your business the cash flow it needs when it needs it. Keep your business growing with a Standard Bank Business Revolving Loan. Visit standardbank.co.za/business loans to apply. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Orbit College is highly spirited and believe they are intelligent enough to secure 3 vital points. But the citizens are confident they will prevail with their top-flight football experience. This is the PSL Promotional Playoffs. Catch the hot contest between Orbit College and Cape Town City on Wednesday, 25 June at 2:30 p.m. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC2. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
What I'm trying to get to the bottom of is to understand these people that have been billing for overtime. What were they doing in their time? Is this justifiable overtime charges here?
Our CBD operations 24/7. The conditions of service for our workers saying they must knock off at 4, for instance. So you needed a bit of overtime to cover that. Their conditions of service is also saying they were not supposed to work on weekends and on holidays. So by agreeing with Labour to change conditions of service.
Councillor Silo More, who's the municipal manager at the Mangaung municipality.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen and nothing is off the agenda.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube and X at SAFM Radio.
And let's get to ahead of the SAFM Market Update hosted by Jimmy Moya. Jimmy, good to chat to you as always. You've got a story about the South African economy. It's not good news.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. Yes, I wish I had better news, but according to Stats SA that released their quarterly labour force survey for quarter 1 of 2025, we have lost 40,000 permanent jobs and around 55,000 temporary jobs, so full-time and part-time jobs, leading to more than 95,000 jobs lost in Q1 of 2025. We're going to look at these numbers, try and make sense of these numbers with a senior economist at PwC. Get a sense of what's been driving some of those factors there and what we do from here. We've also got a conversation with Time Bank's co-founder and CEO around the latest price increase from the Department of Home Affairs. They've increased some of their pricing, and the team at Time Bank has wrote an open letter requesting that they review this increase because it is an excessive increase for the lower to middle income earners of South Africa. So we're going to speak to the team at Time Bank around this. We did reach out, of course, to the Department of Home Affairs to get them on the show around this as well, but we weren't able to get to them, so we are chatting to the team at Time Bank around this. And then we've got a conversation around that debt conversation that you touched on a little earlier on, Ashraf, the debt agreement, or the settlement agreement rather, between the city of Joburg and Joburg Power and Eskom. I'm going to take a look at that from the perspective of Eskom, understanding that that now means that they potentially will earn some money over the next 4 years, but alongside that we know that they've had some planned expenditure or planned capex that they were supposed to be putting into certain projects like the Komati project that have been halted. So I want to take a look at the state of what it is that's going on at Eskom at the moment. We're going to have that conversation with independent energy analyst Tshepo Gadima. He's going to join us to take a look at some of those factors there, and then we're going to wrap up the show with a property feature. This time we're taking a look at property from the perspective of the Deeds Office. The Deeds Office has been closed due to some occupational health and safety concerns, and we're going to take a look at that and how that closure is delaying property registrations and hampering the services that the Johannesburg Deeds Office needs to render to South Africans. That's what's coming up on the show today, but before we get to that, let's take a look at the markets. The markets have had a positive day of movements, largely on the back of the announcement by President Donald Trump that there is a ceasefire in the Middle East. We know that subsequent to that announcement, there have been comments that both parties have broken the ceasefire. And when we look at the markets, the equity markets were in the green for the most part of the day, benefiting from that positive sentiment that the tensions would have calmed down in the Middle East. The gold price came down quite a bit as well. The Brent price was the biggest surprise there. At some point this week, when you and I started off the week, we spoke, and the Brent price had touched above $80 a barrel. Overnight, we had gone below $70 a barrel, so quite a big shock to the downside there. Positive, obviously, for us, in line with our petrol pricing, but in line with the fact that we're hoping that the ceasefire does hold. I expect that if it doesn't hold, we'll potentially see that the Brent price will start to climb again. The gold price has come down, as I said, coming down to as low as $3,300. It's currently at $3,315 a fine ounce. Brent currently $68.23 a barrel. Platinum $1,295, palladium $1,069. The rand against the dollar gaining some ground. Rand 17 rand 75 cents. 1 British pound 24 rand 17. 1 euro 20 rand 62. 1 Australian dollar 11 rand 54. Bitcoin moving up as well. 105,000 odd dollars a Bitcoin, or around 1.87 million rand there. And if we look at a quick look at equity markets, as I said, all equity markets had a good day. All equity markets were in the green internationally. No exceptions there. The biggest gainer in Asian markets was the Hang Seng, up 2%. Biggest gainer in European markets would have been the DAX, up 1.7%. And the Nasdaq at some point was up about 1.2%. Our own local markets, resources were down around almost 4%, but they were offset by financials gaining 3.5% and industrials gaining 1.4%. The all share 0.8% to the green, and the top 43 0.25% to the green. I've got Skulk Low from PSG Wealth joining me to take a look at these market movements a little later on. I want to get his sense on where we go to from here, depending on some of the outcomes of the tensions in the Middle East. But that's a conversation for just after the 6 o'clock news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Okay, perfect. And your show 6 to 7, followed by Chumi hosting the Top Sports Show 7 to 8 o'clock.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
I see there's been a communique from the Thuli Madonsela Foundation, and he talks about the passing of Mr. Foxton, or Dick, right, who is the founder of Foxton Communicating. Now, you may wonder who that is, because then comes the significance. Of course, he's the life partner of Professor Thuli Madonsela. So he passed away, but we got the news a few hours ago, and certainly I think lots of support and sympathies for Thuli Madonsela on the passing of her life partner. Let's talk rugby after this.
Outsurance knows South Africans are feeling the pinch, so you've been looking for ways to save money. You could cut corners with things like that coffee brand you love. Or you could go the easy way, where you could save money on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Let's hear what real OUTsurance clients have to say.
I saved 455 Rand. It was quick and easy.
I'm saving 411 Rand a month. OUTsurance helping me save money.
That saving is actually saving my paycheck. Leave all the insurances and come to OUTsurance.
It was fast, easy, and he gave me the best quote. My savings is 644 Rand. Come join OUTsurance and save some money.
Make today the day you switch and save. And SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With OUTsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The reigning champions Banyana Banyana and 11 African national teams are ready to tackle each other for WAFCON 2024 to determine who are the real queens of the continent. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Experience the Women Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC 1 and SABC 2. Also available on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Morning Brief.
Linda in Boksburg, you want to talk about Floyd Shivambu?
You know, the problem in this country is that we now have a new reality show, and this reality show comes out of politics. Floyd Shivambu is caught in a situation where he was trying to be clever, playing street politics with street clevers, basically, between Julius Malema and Jacob Zuma. He's a clever black. He's gone to school. He knows politics from the books, but he's not street smart.
And he was outsmarted in your view.
In a language of
Linda, let's leave it there. That's Linda in Boksburg.
This is Dula Sizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
By the way, on that conversation we've been having about, the DA needing to get black leaders, and then someone said, well, they need to come from grassroots and nothing else. Where do you think Herman Mashaba came from when he joined the DA, and how quickly did he get to the very top in terms of being the mayor of the city of Joburg on behalf of the DA? Just think about that. Right, 1995, a significant year in the lives of South Africans because it came 1 year after we voted for the very first time. So we're a democracy, but also what happened in that year, and on that day, 30 years ago today, the Springboks won the Rugby World Cup for the very first time, but first time ever, but also significantly as a democratic South Africa. So it has a huge significance. Now, linked to all of that has been a significant coming together today of people reflecting on what happened that day, but also, I think, significantly coming together for the purpose of a cause that's very important. So with me is Katlego Dikobo, who's the chairperson of the Township Rugby Youth. Katlego, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Good evening. Thanks for having me, and good evening to your listeners as well.
Thank you. So let's talk about this, what is called the 1995 World Cup Unity Celebration today taking place at Houghton. Tell me more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we really thought it would be remiss and almost irresponsible of us not to take the time to take and acknowledge the moment, which is, today, 30 years ago. I think, as you correctly alluded to, just as you were introducing me, that, we obviously had a massive build-up towards the 1994 elections and all the, tensions and the euphoria that came post that. But I think the true Rainbow Nation, I think the true unity in diversity, that particular moment, I think, landed as we won that 1995 World Cup. So it's a very, very significant day for us to acknowledge. I think if we think about the fact that first 5 years, 94 to 99, was a unity government, and coincidentally 30 years on, we are now in another unity government, I think that's quite telling. And I think if you also think about the where the world is at the moment, it makes our journey, our story, even that much more powerful. I actually, seeing what happened yesterday in the world, I actually thought to myself, if the world needs a 1995 moment right now.
Well, interesting point you made, 95-94 moment, yeah. Yeah, look, I think at that time when we won the rugby, well, we won the election. Let's call it that as a country, a voted for election, not a power grab. Then we won the Rugby World Cup. Then the AFCON a year later. It's like, goodness, God is smiling on us. What a country we live in, right? I hope we can sustain that. But then, therefore, let's then talk about the coming together of people. So, who's been at today's event, and tell me more about it.
Yeah, so today's events are twofold. There's, in fact, they're threefold. There's what I'd call a virtual exercise. So we've had TV interviews. We've obviously spoken to SABC to make sure that they actually, flight and pilot scenes and content from the political activities leading up to that 1995 World Cup. So, for example, the issue of the Springboks name. At the time, there was a political decision to remove the name Springboks, and everybody had actually voted for the national name of Proteas across all sporting codes. So that type of story, there's a lot of that SABC is actually flighting today. There's been a number of interviews on the NCA, obviously, like now we're having on SAFM. So there's that one component. The second component is we actually run a program called Township Rugby Youth Try, and we thought it'd be fitting to do our fundraiser for Try in unison with what we call the Unity 30 Years of Unity program. So we've got a number of business leaders, esteemed business leaders, and other societal leaders who are at the Houghton Golf Club.
And what, playing golf and raising money for your project, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Playing golf and raising money. We also have a third part, which is a more closed environment, which is at the Ellis Park, where a number of former Springboks, 1995 Springboks, are actually gathered there, and they're enjoying the day. And also, they actually watched the rebroadcast of the game from 3 p.m. Earlier this afternoon. So that's the totality of the program, really. For today.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe they should have got 60,000 people into Ellis Park today just to recreate that atmosphere. I mean, that would be something I'd love to have been there, right?
Absolutely.
Well, there you are. How much money? Let's get, the players, I don't know if you then got to Ellis Park because you may have been at the golf event, right? But how much interaction with the players of that 95 era, and what it meant to them then, and how can we still bottle that experience for the benefit of South Africa going forward?
I think, to be honest, I don't think they understood the impact of what they did. I think, speaking to some of them today, they are still very shocked at that which they did and what it has subsequently done for us as a country. I think really they're in shock, and they're almost humbled by it as well, and they're almost participants in it, not necessarily the real protagonists. So there's a lot of that feeling. There really is a lot of that feeling, and just pure gratitude.
What about? Tell me more about your Township Rugby Youth Tournament, your Try as you call it. Tell me more about that. Who plays? How big is it?
Yeah, so we're calling it a platform, and it's more than just a tournament. The idea is that, unfortunately, if you think about that, even as early as now, as 2023, the players of color in that World Cup winning side, were probably made it in rugby as an act of God. There was no system in place to actually identify, harness, and harness those talents. And so what we've said is that let's not leave things to chance. Let's build an institute which would be almost on the same level as Craven Week, which is obviously a very big, it's the biggest school rugby tournament in the world from an elite performance perspective. But let's build an equivalent at the cold face of communities and actually get talent coming in raw at that level. And as a result of that, we're in our second year running. At the moment, we've got kids from communities, Soweto, Alexander, as far out as Orange Farm, Kagiso. We've got kids from the Coronationville area, Lenasia, Westbury, etc. And we've got 1,800 kids who are participating in this year's tournament over 3 months. And we're playing every Saturday, 30 games. And kids, boys and girls, by the way, with a 60-40 split. It's amazing to see the development of girls rugby. And that's what we're doing. That's the platform that we've created, and it's been immensely successful. We've already got so many kids who have gotten scholarships to schools like Parktown, Roosevelt, and St. Eden's Boys College actually offered us a 300,000 rand a year scholarship to one of our kids last year.
One of the things, and we were talking about it the other day, the strength of school rugby support, and I would say traditional rugby schools, let me put that there, right, I think is incredible, and that must then speak to the strength of South African rugby. I don't think football comes even close to that, for example, right? But of course, the bigger challenge must be how do you replicate that from suburban school rugby in the suburbs to township school rugby? How far are we down the line for that, to grow great rugby schools in townships?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the journey we have started, right? So that's exactly what we're trying to do, to say how you replicate that system at a township level. And again, the numbers at a township level are astronomical, right? So if South African rugby is world number one, just based on a limited number in terms of your traditional rugby playing schools and elite schools, can you imagine if you're able to open up that bracket to the entire sort of township and peri-urban population? I mean, it will take us to the next strata. And again, the most important thing I think that we have thought about is that we need to build systems and you need to build institutions that can stand by their own. I mean, the Cape Unique platform, is phenomenal, and I think we've started the journey now on this. It's expensive because again, the township schools comes with its own problems. So, for example, we have to bus in 1,800 kids every weekend into a safe environment. There are costs like food that you never really thought about. So, I mean, our running costs are anywhere between 300 and 500,000 rand a weekend, right? Wow. And we still want to run this thing as a national thing. But again, we've not said let's just talk to government or anything like that. We've said, guys, as a population, we also need to take back our own agency that we can do and can give.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's what we're driving.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is very hopeful. Hopefully you raise all the monies that you need and make that impact, because you're right. School rugby, 10,000, 15,000. You can't believe the crowds on a Saturday. It's quite incredible. Katlego Dikobo, let's leave it at that. That's your challenge, the chairperson of the Township Rugby Youth. And as we reflect on that challenge, all I can say is this, what do they say when they win, like from the Wynberg boys' school? Hoya, hoya. Can they do that? Hoya. That's where we are. But the big challenge is, I'll leave you with this. Think about this seriously. What's more significant? The Springboks winning the 1995 Rugby World Cup, or South Africa as a country being able to pull off and host the 2010 FIFA World Cup? Just think about that. This has been the National Pulse. We'll do it again tomorrow. Much appreciate your support all throughout the last 3 hours. And as always, the National Pulse is not a 3-hour show. It's a 24/7 conversation. Just use that hashtag when you're posting on social media, and you can do that even now. Here's the news with Greg.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Cold front set for the Eastern Cape and launch of the Safe Schools Protocol. Good evening. The Eastern Cape government has warned residents to be extra cautious as the province braces for an intense cold front between Thursday and Friday this week. The Weather Service has issued a warning of damaging winds resulting in localised flooding. Provincial government spokesperson Kusaba Ranki says government is advising residents to stay indoors and keep warm. Motorists also need to be extra careful on the roads. This comes as the search continues after 100 bodies were recovered following flooding in the province almost 2 weeks ago. The intense cold front is also expected to make landfall in Cape Town tomorrow. The city's Disaster Risk Management Centre says specific warnings linked to the frontal system include damaging waves, winds and disruptive rainfall. Police have arrested 3 suspects in connection with the murder of a prominent attorney, Katlego Moribe, at Kuruman in the Northern Cape. The attorney was shot 9 times and died at the scene. Police spokesperson Sherelle Ehlers says police discovered firearms and ammunition during the arrest.
Members of the Northern Cape Crime Intelligence, in conjunction with Crime Intelligence in the Northwest Province, the Mahikeng Tactical Response Team and the Vryburg Public Order Police launched a coordinated intelligence-driven operation